Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
A sweet dish after dinner. Leon closed the door softly behind them, shutting out the rest of the world. The room was warmly lit, casting a soft golden light over the furniture and thick carpets. Still wrapped in towels, Leon and Arya made their way to the large, ornate wardrobe against one wall. Leon opened his side lazily, digging for something comfortable. With a loose laugh, he drew out a pair of loose black trousers and a plain white shirt, both soft, light fabrics that would be just right for the evening. He shed them into the clothes swiftly, towel dropping off easily, his movements fluid and unruffled. At the same time, Arya walked to her own grand wardrobe. She unlatched it gently with a small creak, which opened up rows of beautiful clothes, from combat uniform to evening dresses to everyday clothes. Her fingers ran gently along the materials before she smiled and picked out a deep purple nightgown, flowing and silky. Standing next to the bed, she allowed her towel to fall, exposing her slender figure. She then eased the gown over her silky skin, the fabric flowing down her curves like water. Leon, who was dressed, leaned negligently against the wardrobe, gazing at her with eyes brimming with passion and admiration. His golden eyes devoured each movement. Sensing his gaze, Arya tilted her head slightly, a rosy blush warming her cheeks, and smiled hesitantly. "What are you staring at?" she teased shyly. Leon smiled, his tone low and husky. "You look too beautiful in that dress," he said bluntly. Arya's blush grew stronger, but her smile broadened. "Thanks," she murmured, smoothing her hand down the soft fabric. She glanced fondly at the wardrobe. "Rias bought me this gown. And most of the clothes here," she added, her tone tender and grateful. Leon nodded, his smile soft. "She always thinks of everything," he agreed. Arya nodded in return, her violet eyes gleaming with emotion. But Leon's next words made her freeze. "But," he went on with a wicked grin, "I enjoy you naked more." Arya's face grew hot with bright pink. She playfully tapped his arm, her voice stumbling. "Shameless," she charged, though merriment sparkled in her eyes. Leon only laughed, his deep, warm voice filling the air. "You knew that when you fell in love with me," he retaliated, smiling. A knock at the door interrupted Arya before she could answer. Leon stood up straight, calling, "Come in." The door creaked open, and a maid stepped in, rolling in a silver dining trolley. She was cute, nearly doll-like. Brown hair to the shoulders surrounded her small, round face. Her large honey-colored eyes were wide and sweet, her smile polite but a little shy. She was petite, around 5 feet 2 inches, with a full, well-proportioned figure that her snug-fitting maid's uniform highlighted to perfection. The black dress clung to her waist and hips, the skirt falling just above the knees, showing slender legs covered in soft black stockings. This was Lillian, the new head maid of the household, who had taken over after Arya became Leon's partner. Lillian bowed deeply, her hands delicately folded across her apron. "Good evening, young master, Lady Arya," she said in a soft voice. Leon gave a disarming, light-hearted smile, nodding to her. Arya nodded too, her voice friendly. "Lillian, how do you feel now, being the head maid?" she inquired kindly. Lillian flushed a little, moving forward with the trolley. "Seriously, Lady Arya, it's kind of chaotic," she confessed in a shy giggle. "But I'm getting used to it gradually." Arya smiled warmly. "That's good," she said. "You'll do fine. With the housemaids, you were always more like a little sister to me. I'm pleased to see you growing." Lillian's eyes sparkled with tears. "Thank you, Lady Arya. It means so much to me," she whispered softly. Leon observed the exchange with quiet warmth and amusement. Following a few more cordial words, Arya spoke softly. "Okay, Lillian, you can leave now. Thanks for bringing the food." Lillian bowed once more. "Yes, Lady Arya. Good night, young master, Lady Arya." "Good night," Leon and Arya said warmly in return. Lillian departed, her light footsteps vanishing. Leon and Arya moved toward the food trolley. Arya raised the silver lids off the plates, and instantly, the fragrant smell of roasted meat, warm bread, and herb-kissed vegetables wafted through the room. Smells fantastic, Leon commented, running his tongue over his lips. They sat side by side at the edge of the bed, plates held delicately on their laps. The meal was plain but kind. They took bites of each other now and then, snickered softly at little quips, and exchanged secret smiles between bites. When it was done, Lillian came back just long enough to take the plates away. Wishing them another tender good night, she disappeared, leaving the two again alone. The room was warmer now, with a lingering heat of fine food, dim light, and something deeper, heavier. Need. Leon leaned back slightly, stretching indolently as he looked at Arya. After dinner, I crave to eat something sweet, he said with an innocent smile. Arya blinked in pretended innocence, picking up his unspoken meaning, but playing along anyway. Oh, then, I'll go get you dessert, she said demurely, standing up from the bed. But before she could go far, Leon caught her and pulled her back down, sending her tumbling onto the plush mattress and onto him. Arya let out a little shriek as she landed on his chest. If my sweet departs, Leon whispered in her ear, what would I eat then? He pushed aside a wayward lock of her violet hair, his fingers light as a feather against her forehead. Their eyes clashed, golden and violet holding in a burning, unspoken vow. Slowly, irresistibly, their mouths met. At first the kiss was slow, gentle, but it soon grew hotter, deeper. Their tongues wrapped around each other, twining in a messy knot, and wet noises filled the air. Leon sucked delicately on her lower lip, sipping her breath, while Arya whimpered softly and melted against him. Leon's hands skimmed along her soft hips, drawing her closer still. When they finally parted, Arya's face was pink and flushed, her violet eyes dazed and shimmering. Leon's smirk spread wide, his blood racing hot through his veins. He didn't need to flirt with her anymore. The flames between them blazed too hot now. With an effortless, smooth roll, Leon rolled her gently onto the bed, his powerful body on top of her fragile one. Their breaths entwined. Now, Leon murmured low and rough, his eyes black and overflowing with love and desire. Let's make love, all night long. Arya whimpered, her arms circling his neck, giving herself over to him entirely once again. The night was theirs alone, the night of endless craving. Leon leaned over Arya, holding her arms gently against the bed, his warm breath whispering over her neck. He smiled into her skin, his voice low and teasing in her ear. Beg for it, he whispered, soft and almost cruel in its gentleness. Tell me what you want, or else you'll get nothing from me tonight. Arya's breath caught. Heat flooded to her face, suffusing her cheeks with a furious, helpless red. She, always calm, who spoke in measured words and piercing glances, found herself now quivering under his teasing mastery. Her heart was thudding wildly, her body yearning for him. Foregoing her pride altogether, she gave way, her voice shaking with desperate lust. Her lip caught between teeth, her cheeks hot red, she finally broke. Please, kiss me, touch me, give me your love, darling. A slow, dark smile creased Leon's lips. As you wish, my beautiful wifey. He seized her lips in a deep, feral kiss. His tongue forced past her lips, searching, tasting, conquering. Arya moaned sweetly into him, her own tongue shyly dancing with his. Ma! Soft moans fell from her mouth, only swallowed again by Leon's persistent lips. One of his hands slipped loose, running down her curves before coming to rest on her soft and large breast. He's squeezing it hard, his thumb rubbing over her already sensitive nipple. And Arya gasped, arching into his hand, the delicate fabric of her nightgown doing nothing to dampen the electric shock that shot through her. And Arya gasped, arching into his hand, her body reacting immediately to his touch. Leon laughed low, and she felt herself melt into him. You're on fire, my love, and we're just beginning. Arya's head was a jumbled mess. All she could sense was Leon, his hands, his lips, his dominating presence. Leon had already removed his shirt, his powerful chest warming against her body as he kissed and stroked her with slow, deliberate fingers. And as he finally drew back a little, reaching out to grab hold of the hem of her nightgown, he couldn't help but grin at the view before him. Arya, chasing his lips like a needy kitten, desperate for more. Leon chuckled softly against her mouth, a deep teasing sound. "If you don't undress," he murmured, tugging at the fabric with lazy fingers, "we can't start properly, silly girl." Realizing how desperately she was clinging to him, Arya's face flared a deep, embarrassed pink. "Why your fault?" she mumbled, pouting up at him adorably. "For kissing me so damn good. It's like you put a spell on me." Leon laughed again, pressing a few playful pecks to her trembling lips, savoring her flustered expression. "Silly little wife," he said fondly. "There's no magic. It's just us. We're perfect together." His voice dipped lower, wicked and sweet all at once. "And if you behave," he added, grazing her mouth with another feather-light kiss, "I'll kiss you forever. But if you want more than kisses, you'll have to be a good little wifey for me." Unable to argue with his teasing warmth, Arya raised her arms and allowed him to undress her. Leon pulled the nightgown off over nightgown. She was naked, now fully bare, her smooth skin flawless, her lush breasts shyly concealed behind arms. Her modesty only served to make her more desirable. A picture of shy temptation spread out before him. Leon's eyes grew dark, a hungry, intense expression sweeping across his face. He bent towards her, his voice low and awed, filled with possessive warmth. "Why hide from me?" he whispered, nearly chastising, "as if I haven't already memorized every inch of you." His fingers swept her arms, urging them away with a gentle touch. His smirk grew almost melodramatic, teasing. "You're stunning, Arya," he declared, each word savored. Then, with a mocking bow of his head, he added, voice thick with feigned gravity, "Tonight, let me serve you to my heart's content." Her heart leapt wildly, beating against her ribs. In spite of her shame, a sexy smile softened her lips. Then she breathed, raising her chin to him with brazen sweetness. "Do your best, my dashing husband." Leon's eyes grew black as coal, brimming with untamed passion. He didn't hesitate, pushing her back onto the bed and taking her mouth in a hard, sucking kiss that left her gasping. His fingers wandered ravenously across her skin, as if merely touching was insufficient to satiate the hunger uncoiling within him. Breaking the kiss, Leon drew his lips lower, burning a line of fire across her shuddering flesh. He kissed her belly, drawing a line of kisses upwards before reaching her breast. He took her pink nipple into his mouth, sucking and tracing his tongue around it as he massaged the other breast in his big hand. "MMNHH." Arya groaned, running her fingers through his hair, holding him tight. Her nipples hardened under his mouth, and her thighs clenched together involuntarily. "Oh, Leon, more, please," she gasped out. Leon didn't need any more encouragement. He kissed and licked his way down her belly, leaving wet, claiming marks. As he approached the crease of her thighs, he parted her legs with care. He breathed deeply, relishing her aroma. "You smell heavenly," he whispered half-reverently. "Don't utter embarrassing phrases like th, ahhh." Arya's objection was stifled by a sudden gasp as Leon's tongue darted over her clit, teasing, then sucking so hard that her thighs tightened around his head. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Sounds of wetness filled the room as Leon winked at her like a starving man. Arya tossed her head back, sobbing. "On, Leon. Ah, right there." Her hips arched against his mouth, demanding more of his wicked tongue. "You taste like heaven, my wifey," he whispered between kisses, thrumming her body. Leon adored everything about her, her flavor, her perfume, her softness, and her responses. He needed to claim her, to ensure she never forgot the way she was his. It didn't take long. With a cry of loud, desperate need, Arya unraveled. "Leon, I'm gonna HHNN." Her climax swept over her like a tsunami, her juices spilling into Leon's mouth as she wept his name. her love juices mingling with his saliva. Leon didn't waste a drop, swallowing her greedily, growling low in contentment. When at last he broke away, Arya was panting, her body shaking. Leon slowly licked his lips, his eyes meeting hers. "You become sweeter than before." Blushing intensely, Arya, still gasping, spoke softly. I want to return the favor," she whispered, voice light but with desire. Her gaze dropped to the tense length of him, strained with hunger. "Let me use my mouth too," she continued softly, the words barely more than breath, but weighted with promise. Leon's dick jumped at her suggestion. He grinned, said nothing, and reclined on the bed. And observing as Arya, driven by audacity and love, slid between his legs and releasing his stiff, pulsating dick from his pants. She leaned forward without hesitation, her swollen tip giving a slow, wet lick that tensed Leon's entire body. Arya," urged on. She took his entire length into her mouth deeper and slowly bobbing her head, her tongue swirling, enjoying his thickness, his masculine flavor. "Slurp, slurp, slurp." Leon groaned hard, sensing her warm, wet tongue tormenting him. Arya became braver, taking more of him into her mouth, her eyes fluttering closed as she concentrated solely on bringing him pleasure. Leon clutched the sheets, his muscles hard. "Fuck, Arya, you're so good at this." Her small mouth struggled to take him all, but she kept trying, gagging lightly, pulling back with a gasp, and going down again. "Slurp, slurp, gluck, gluck." Leon couldn't take it anymore. "I'm coming. Drink it all, my love." Arya felt his dick twitch, and then the hot, thick liquid filled her mouth. She struggled hard to swallow it all, but a bit trickled out at the sides of her mouth, which she quickly lapped up like a kitten licking cream. Nevertheless, she cleaned him, scrubbing, sucking and licking until there was not a single drop left on him. When she raised her tearful eyes to him with a supplicating expression, Leon's dick and heart hardened again in an instant. Without saying anything, he pushed her back onto the bed, hungrily kissing her. "You'll have more later," he snarled, biting her nipples fiercely. His lips teased their nipples savagely as he spoke. "Shut up. I need some," Arya objected. "But now, I need some." He stroked his wet dick against her wet pussy, teasing her ruthlessly. Leon teased her even more, rubbing his dick against her folds, but without penetration. "Please, hurry. Give me," Arya whined, desperate with flushed face. Leon grinned. His tip hung at her opening. "Then say it right. Tell me you need my cock to fill your naughty, wet little pussy." Arya moaned, her face red with embarrassment, but her need trumped her shame. "Please, put your dick in my naughty wet pussy. Make me yours." With a low growl, Leon shoved into her in one smooth motion, filling her to the hilt. Leon." Her constricting heat engulfed him like a velvet fist, tightening around him mouth-wateringly. Arya screamed out, reaching orgasm almost at once as her body convulsed around him. Leon ground his teeth together, just managing to contain himself. He remained buried deep within her, allowing her to ride out her orgasm as he savored the way she tightened around him. When her shaking stopped, she gazed up at him with weeping, bright eyes. "And she knows what he desires from her," she asked him in hug voice. What do you want me to say now, my devil husband?" she gasped. Leon grinned evilly. "Tell me you want me to fuck your pussy into a hot, messy puddle." Arya, flushed and hungry for more, moaned. "I beg you, Leon, fuck my pussy into a hot, messy puddle. Make me yours." He didn't wait. He pulled nearly all the way out, then slammed back inside her. Plap, plap, plap. Arya screamed and moaned, the pleasure so overwhelming that she couldn't tell where her body ended and his began. Leon fucked her like he promised, fast, deep, relentless. Every thrust rattled her body, every slap of flesh on flesh ringing out in the room. Slap, 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 squish, plap, squish. The filthy, wet sounds of their bodies blending filled the air. Ehak, Leon, yes, Yes. The Night of Endless Craving Part 2. Oh, mm. Arya moaned incessantly, her voice rising higher with each mighty stroke. The pleasure Leon was providing her with was something more than anything she ever imagined possible. Your dick is so good. It's reaching my deepest parts, Leon, she screamed out, digging her nails into his back. Leon grunted, feeling her warm, tight confines gripping him, sucking his dick eagerly. He enjoyed the way her body reacted. So honest, so desperate. I love your pussy, Leon snarled, driving harder, causing the bed to groan. It's squeezing my dick so damn tight. More. Please, Leon, harder. I can't get enough. Arya's back arched, her hips pressing against his, inviting each hard, wet thrust. The harder she groaned, the more Leon needed to give her, his own body consumed by lust as her abject cries possessed him. So fucking good. Arya breathlessly spoke, her rational self disintegrating totally, surrendering herself completely to pleasure and to Leon. He bent down, kissing her lips passionately while maintaining his deep, rhythmic stroke within her. Smooch. Slurp. Arya held him in a tight grip, her nails tracing down his back, her hips rising to meet each stroke. The union of his dick and mouth was making her go mad. Leon, Aya, I love it. I love you. Her shriek tore from her throat as a fierce orgasm surged through her body. Her pussy clenched around him, pulling him deeper, milking every inch of his dick. Sensing her orgasm, Leon couldn't restrain himself further. He snarled her name and pushed deep, his dick jerking wildly inside her. And an NG chach. Arya, I'm coming. Splurt, splurt, splurt. He poured his hot, thick cum into her womb, pumping her hard as they wrapped themselves around each other. Arya gasped in pure ecstasy, hugging her legs harder around his waist, pinning his dick deeper inside her. Don't stop. I want it all. Fill me. Please eat. Leon devoured her, their bodies against each other, their combined juices dripping out from between them. Smooch. Kiss. MMM. We're just getting started. My sweet little wifey. He breathed in her ear, his voice filled with love and desire. His weighty load combined with Arya's sugary love juices, dripping from her stuffed pussy and warming the sheets sticky and hot with their combined scent. Panting hard, Arya clutched Leon's face in her hands, her rosy cheeks aglow with feeling. I'm the luckiest woman alive, to have a husband who gives me so much love and pleasure. Please, give me more. I want all of you. Leon's heart pounded in his chest at her audacity. How could he ever deny himself when she stared at him that way? So bold, so innocent, so damn gorgeous. His dick, still deep inside her wet warmth, twitched, hardening once again, hungrier than before. You'll have everything, my love. Without hesitation, he started thrusting again, harder and deeper than ever. Oh, yes, Arya cried out as Leon began to move again, thrusting deeply into her wet, stretched pussy. Splap, splap, splap. Determined to drive her wild, Leon gripped the headboard with both hands and began to thrust harder, faster. You're so damn hot. I'll fuck you senseless, my naughty little wife. Arya's body bucked with every hard thrust. Leon was going deeper, deeper, deeper into her, striking places that made her stars appear. Yes, yes, yes. Harder, Leon. Mark my pussy with your cum once more. The bed creaked unstably from their wild movements, loud slapping sounds resonating in the air accompanied by Arya's helpless, erotic cries. Splap, splap, splap. Leon could feel his balls clenching once more, her tightness too much. Damn, I'm coming again. Take it all, my love. Leon was losing his grip. Her squeezing, dripping pussy was too much, too good, too addictive. Damn it, I'm coming. Take it all, my love. He let out a roar as he came again deep within her, thick hot seeds spilling into her fertile depths. Arya reached her third climax, squeezing every last drop from him, screaming in raw, messy, mind-shattering ecstasy. So hot, so good inside me. I become more adaptive of thus feeling. She held on to him for dear life, her body shaking as she felt him throb within her. Leon kissed her hard, sharing breath, sharing everything. Their bodies remained entwined, their essence seeping out between them, sticky and warm. As they passionately kissed, Arya breathed softly against his lips. "You gave me so much, but I still want more," she whispered, lightly licking his lips. "Please, Leon, I love it too much." Leon moaned, completely enchanted by his wicked little wife. But then a wicked glint appeared in his eyes. "You know the rules, my love," he grinned. "If you want more, you have to say something naughty for me." Arya flushed angrily, but her body cried out for more. She pouted on his chest. "You devil, what do you want me to say?" Leon eased his dick slowly inside her, torturing her, making her whimper. "Say you're my naughty wifey, and you want me to fuck your tight little ass." Arya tensed, her heart racing. "Am I? Ass?" Arya squeaked. She stared at him with wide, frightened eyes. "Ennu, isn't it painful?" Leon laughed softly, gently touching his flushed cheek. He spoke with a deep, soothing whisper. "Don't worry, my lovely wife. I'll start gently, and you'll see, you'll love it. It won't hurt for long. It'll be so good, you'll be begging me to do it more." Arya buried her face in his chest for a second, shivering, then whispered so blushfully it was almost inaudible to him. I trust you. So, please, fuck my naughty ass. Hard. You're so adorable, my love." Leon kissed her long and deep, then rolled her on all fours on the dirty bed. He knelt behind her, his eyes fixed on the entrancing sight of Arya's full, flawless ass. Round, soft, shaking just for him. He smiled evilly in his mind. "Since the moment I laid eyes on these hips, I've fantasized about this. And this evening, I'm going to enjoy her ass to the fullest." He squeezed her ass cheeks tenderly, spreading them apart, teasing her. "I'm going to make you feel great." He massaged her ass lovingly with both hands, spreading her cheeks slightly, then slowly slid his dick between them, letting it rub deliciously against her tight little hole. Arya whimpered. The sensation was weird but incredibly arousing. "You're teasing too much," she pouted, trying to look mad, but only looking irresistibly cute. Leon just grinned. "I can't help it. Your ass is just too perfect." He knew it would be difficult to enter her without lubrication. So he began to kiss and lick her pink hole gently. Slurp, slurp, Arya gasped, her legs shaking at the obscene sensation. Leon's tongue teased her tighter hole until she relaxed completely. When she finally relaxed completely, he coated his dick in their mixed juices. Leon positioned his throbbing tip against her. "I'm going inside now. My beautiful wife. MNNHH, please. Be gentle." Arya cried out, wincing. Slowly, he pushed inside, just the tip, pulling her taut ever so slightly. "Yeah, Leon," Arya sobbed, reaching for the sheets, sensing her ass expanding, but feeling a strange, forbidden pleasure burgeoning within her as well. Her back arched, her body attempting to twist away from this odd, blazing invasion. Leon stopped at once, stroking her back comfortingly, mumbling softly to her. "Sure, it's all right, sweetie. Breathe. Relax for me." He kissed down her spine, waiting patiently until he could feel her body relax slightly beneath his caress. Then he pressed again, harder this time. Her tightness clamped down on him mercilessly. "Fuck," Leon grunted, his voice tight with effort and pleasure. Arya whimpered, clutching the sheets tightly, her entire body shaking. Tears welled at the edges of her eyes, not because it hurt, but because it was all so intense. At last, with a deep grunt, Leon buried himself completely inside her. Plap! Their hips collided with a damp, wet smacking sound. Leon ducked over, holding her shuddering form with his arms, his forehead against her shoulder. "So tight. So good," he gritted out. Arya moaned without a choice, her hips jerking fractionally as she struggled to get into position. Her body ached with impossible fullness, strained to its capacity. "Leon," she breathed, a trembling, rosy from head to toe voice. "I'm going to move now, love," Leon whispered softly, his lips brushing her temple. She nodded, tucking her red-faced head further into the pillow. Leon slowly began to thrust. He went slow at first, allowed her time to get used to it, then slowly began to thrust harder, his hips slapping on her round cheeks, producing lewd, slapping sounds. Slap, slap, slap. Arya moaned with every slow motion, her legs shaking. But quickly, the hurting numbed, and an unfamiliar sort of pleasure came in that curled her toes. MH. It feels so good. Leon wrapped his arms around her hips and began to bang her ass harder, making her bounce back against him helplessly. Slap, slap, slap. You're so tight. So perfect. You were made for this. Leon gritted, lost in the divine sensation. Arya shouted out in bliss, drooling ever so slightly as she let herself go in the filthy ecstasy. Yes, Leon, bang my ass harder. Fill me up. His strokes became more desperate. Plap, slap, squish, plap. The sound of her juices dripping down her thighs mixed with the raw slapping, painting an erotic symphony. Arya, fuck, I'm going to come. Leon growled, his hands gripping her hips like iron. And me too. Arya sobbed out, her whole body shaking, dizzy, drooling against the pillow. With one final, deep thrust, Leon buried himself completely and exploded inside her. Arya, he roared. Hot bursts of his seed filled up her ass, overflowing, causing her to shudder helplessly beneath him. Oh, it's so hot. It's filling me up. Arya screamed, her voice hoarse and shaking, as waves of climax ripped through her. Her body shook beneath him, thighs shaking, back arching as she felt his hot come flooding into her. Her mouth gaped open, tongue lolling out, her mind lost in the fog of suffocating pleasure. Leon fell back against her onto his back, heaving, with perspiration running down from his forehead. Softly, slowly, after a little time, he removed his dick from her anus with a wet, dirty plop. Arya whined softly, still twitching her hips, oversensitive and overstimulated. A white stream of his seed leaked from her stretched, thoroughly hers, ass, followed by a sulky slide from the other, its warmth and heaviness spreading between her cheeks, down her inner thighs. She was lying limp, her body shaking, brain still reeling. She could sense it within her, thick and hot, filling up both her openings, a slow heat spreading out from where he had so thoroughly taken her. Leon gazed down at the mess they'd created, pride shining in his eyes. Possession, devotion, desire. He was completely in love. He lay beside her then, pulled her into his arms with a tenderness that contrasted the ferocity they'd just shared. He brushed damp strands of hair from her flushed face and kissed her cheek, soft and reverent. "You're amazing, my love," he whispered. Arya could barely respond, only managing a weak, blissful smile as she pressed her sweaty body against his. "I love you," she murmured, eyes fluttering shut. "I love you more," he whispered, sweeping a kiss to her forehead. They lay together, all tangled up, their bodies weary but their hearts full. A lovely, messy, passionate connection that no one could ever shatter. In the flow of time, silent morning light seeped through the curtains, braiding golden lines across the tousled bedsheets. The air reeked of heat, flesh, and the sweet scent of roses in the vase by the window. Arya shifted, her lashes fluttering as her body moved against the heat pressed against her. She sensed it before she even saw him. Fingers teasing through her hair, slow and gentle, so close to being reverent. Her heart skipped a beat. A low, teasing voice ruffled her ear, warm with amusement and with just a suggestion of arrogance. "Good morning, my little wifey. Slept well after, begging so sweetly for my cock to mark your naughty pussy?" Arya's eyes snapped open, and warmth rushed to her cheeks. She groaned and hid her cheek in the pillow, embarrassed. Why you weren't supposed to remember that? Her heart skipped a beat as her eyes flew open. She hid her face deep into his chest as she mumbled, voice covered, purple tresses falling across her face. So stop teasing. I was just overwhelmed by you. Leon laughed behind her, deep, smug, and much too pleased. How could I forget? You look adorable yesterday, especially when you begged me to fill you up. Again and again. His fingers swept down her shoulder, so light as a whisper that they drew goosebumps. She rolled her head just far enough to catch sight of him, face still half concealed. You made me say such things, she growled, though her lips twitched with amusement. It's your fault for being relentless. She struck at him half-heartedly, their naked bodies thrust together under the knotted blanket, warm, sticky, and flushed with memory. Her skin still crawled from where he'd touched her the previous night. Leon stopped her hand and brought her back hard against him. The blanket adjusted with them, a cocoon of knotted limbs and spent heat. You weren't shy last night when you pleaded for my cum like a parched little wife. Leon breathed, kissing her neck. He left kisses tracing down her shoulder. And I enjoyed every line. My fearless little wifey. So assertive now, aren't you? Arya sighed, letting herself melt in his arms. And she let out a shaky breath, half from embarrassment, half from the low hum in her core that hadn't fully settled since last night. You're my husband now, aren't you? I'm not ashamed to want you. She turned to face him fully, fingertips tracing the line of his jaw. It's her duty to satisfy your wife, after all. Leon's golden eyes sparkled. With a low laugh, he rolled over and hovered above her, cautious and gentle. And it's your job to continue driving me crazy before breakfast. Her laugh was soft, breathy, full of mischief and love. Then take credit, she whispered. My husband. She leaned up and kissed him, soft and slow, her fingers curling behind his neck. Their lips opened just enough for breath to pass between them. Leon smiled, slow and evil. Before she could even utter a word, he rose to his feet fluidly, and the blanket fell to the ground, exposing their naked form. Arya breathed softly, but did not protest as he scooped her up into a princess carry. Her arms draped around his neck involuntarily. You're heavy with pride, but light in my arms, he teased, kissing her softly. She rolled her eyes but smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. He swept her into the bathroom, the door closing behind them with a click. The room was soon filled with the sound of water, accompanied by soft, breathless laughter and gentle moans that rebounded softly off the tiles. The steam curled around them like a curtain, enveloping their next dance of intimacy in warmth and dampness. No words were necessary as passion caught them up again beneath falling water, a sensual reprise of love rediscovered and taken. And thus the morning dawned. While the world turned beyond fog glass, they wrote their own dawn in breathless chapters, each kiss a stanza, each moan a verse, love spilling into the quiet spaces of the new day. Days passed in a peaceful and intoxicating rhythm. Every morning dawned on warm kisses and teasing touches under the sheets, then mutual duties as moonwalker duchy. They sat in council with advisors, managed estate affairs, and heard petitions from citizens. Arya sat at Leon's side during those sessions, poised and commanding, her previously cautious attitude now infused with confidence and poise. Leon enjoyed the manner in which she flowered as his wife, sneaking covert glances that left her with flushed cheeks, although she no longer blushes so easily. She smiled back at him, undaunted by their love. By nightfall, they entered the training grounds as a pair. Leon, after his increasing command of his voidbreaker arts, moved with keener precision. Arya coached and practiced with him, but it became more apparent with each session. He was not merely imitating her, he was changing. The voidbreaker art came more instinctively to him now, and after increasingly late-night training with her, his advances happening quicker even than Arya had anticipated. She, also, was developing with Leon, nights together with him. Not just Leon becomes stronger, but she becomes stronger as well. Power coursed through. The Grandmaster realm towered, a step beyond her reach, and her courage about him flower like spring flower day by day. Sometimes their training would culminate in crashing blows and roughened breaths, Other times, in furious kisses and laughter, their swords cast aside for bodies pressed tight under dusk skies. And when darkness falls, both turn beast and lost in each other. Their sex became wilder, more turbulent, no longer shy, but one of hunger and trust. Arya, one time shy, now mouthed her pleasures into Leon's ear, rosy cheeks and daring hands. She looked at him with fire in her eyes, ashamed of none of her wanting. And Leon, who once restrained himself, now yielded totally, his heart and body. Together, they danced in passion and power, their bond growing stronger with each kiss and each epiphany. Few nights saw her and Leon's power bursting forth, an explosion of clear-headedness and force. He had entered the Master Realm. Arya, radiating already with her own breakthrough energy, was just shy of the Grand Master one step removed. Breathless and radiant, lying twined in each other's arms, Arya drew a circle on Leon's chest. And so went their days, a circle of duty, tilling, and love, flaming brighter with every night. Moonlight whispers. Moonlight illuminated the Moonwalker mansion with silver radiance, throwing long shadows across its quiet corridors. The garden beyond glimmered with dew, petals resting in the cool night air. But in the mansion's upper wing, behind closed velvet drapes, heat and flame still persisted. Within the master bedroom, candlelight in shades of gold shimmered lazily across satin sheets. Two bodies lay entwined in a knot of silk and perspiration. Leon, his dark, black hair soggy and mussed, his golden eyes still burning softly with the fierce energy pulsing through his veins, and Arya, her purple hair spread upon his chest like a gentle veil, her purple eyes half-lidded, her skin flushed and radiant. Arya released a contented, deep sigh, her voice a whisper of air through fields of lavender. Honestly, since the moment you enter the Master Realm, you've become increasingly difficult to manage, darling. Leon laughed low, encircling her waist with his arms and holding her closer to him. Isn't that what you always wanted? A husband too powerful to resist. She thumped her small fist lightly against his chest and rolled her eyes. But the smile she sent him spoke otherwise. You know what I mean? Rias told me to tell you. She said if I did not request you to take additional wives, I would possibly die from you. Too much doting. Leon laughed at that, his deep sound rumbling in his chest. I'll accept that as highest praise. Arya pouted and snuggled into his neck. It's not a compliment when I'm in danger of losing my life. He leaned her chin up with a finger. And don't you realize? You're already more powerful than you were before. You've blossomed like a heavenly flower since the first night we spent together. Her cheeks flushed. TCH, I still do not believe that absurd claim of yours. That your weird, perverse ability does not make you stronger, but rather makes your partner stronger. Leon's smirk grew even wider, eyes shining. Believe whatever you wish. The effects are clear. Arya bit her lip. She couldn't refute it. Her aura had stabilized, her spells now woven sharper, and her cultivation advanced at a faster speed than ever before. Whereas, in Galvaya, she considered to herself, her gaze far away as she pondered, individuals spend years scraping for progress. Simply establishing entry into the Master Realm, it requires ancient methods and mountains of resources. Her heart tightened a notch. She didn't inherit a noble bloodline, nor did she have an arsenal of resources to order at her fingertips. And yet, here she arrived at this realm dreamed by others. But to achieve Grandmaster, she thought, it's not merely a matter of resources. There's talent involved, raw, terrifying talent, and luck, the sort you cannot purchase or prepare for. And beyond that, her eyes lowered a little as a burden crossed her breast. Beyond that, the road turns into something else, she reflected, where even the most talented start to stumble. The breakthroughs get savage. The world itself pushes back. But still, she was only a step away. It was pure miracle. She bit her lip. It still amazed her. How her cultivation skyrocketed after mere sex with Leon. How could something so intimate, so raw, so enjoyable speed up her growth? The world never discussed such things out loud, but her body understood it. Each time he fucked her with such passion, her aura changed, grew deeper, evolved. Her breath caught when she sensed his fingers softly threading through her hair. The feel drew her out of her reverie. She turned to him, surprised and a bit flustered. "What are you thinking about?" Leon asked softly, his golden eyes warm and amused. Arya smiled, blushing. "I was just thinking, my husband might be the most handsome man in the world." He chuckled, leaning in, his lips brushing hers like a promise. "And you're becoming even more beautiful after every love session." Her cheeks flushed. "You're shameless." He grinned. "Only with you." They both smiled, the laughter light and unself-conscious, ringing out softly across the still room. Their brows touched, smiles still on their mouths, breath exchanged between them. The world beyond receded. There was only the heat of one another's presence, the unspoken tension vibrating between their bodies. Their laughter dissipated, but their proximity did not. They remained there, lost in each other's eyes, hers shining with love, his with something more profound, something searching. But then she noticed it. His eyes, though locked on hers, had started to wander. His smile softened into quiet, and his golden eyes became far away, as if grasping for something far, far away from the room, from even her. She leaned in close, sweeping her fingers over his cheek in a gentle caress, anchoring him. Her voice was low and rich. "What are you thinking?" she asked quietly, her eyes tracing his for the fragments he wasn't saying. Leon blinked, then grinned. "I was just considering heading to the forest in Silver City. The thick one, with magical creatures. Mortal tier to master-level creatures wander there. I wish to challenge my martial art in actual combat." Arya, naked and radiant after their previous intimacy, slowly sat up. She knew straight away. Real-world combat was the real forge for any cultivator. She smiled softly, then nodded. "All right, then tomorrow, we'll do it together." Leon sat up, too, his bare form revealed under the gentle sheets. "No, you won't." Her smile disappeared. "What? Why? I mean, you want to go by yourself." He nodded, brushing his fingers along her cheek. "I reached the Master Realm, but I never put my Voidbreaker art to the test in real battles. Practicing with you tuned it, but now I require opponents who make me surpass myself." Arya's worry rushed forth. "Then at least go with guards. I will send the best squad with you." "Arya." He came closer, his hand gentle. "Trust me, I won't be away for a long time. And remember, I'm not a paper that will rip with wind." Her eyebrows furrowed, concern etched on her face. But still, he bent in, forehead against hers. "I'm a Master Realm cultivator now. Or had you forgotten?" His smile was playful, but his eyes were firm. "And don't forget once, I was a Grandmaster, and I still bear that knowledge." That battle experience part was a lie. He had taken over this body, his name, identity, his memories and cultivation, but not his battle experience. But he couldn't help but see that worry in her eyes. If a little white lie would set her heart free, he'd bear it. She searched his eyes, quietness lingering. Then finally she nodded. "Fine. Just don't make me regret trusting you." She recalled vividly how easily he learned his new martial art within days. He was a war genius. Leon's face relaxed. He leaned forward and kissed her, slow, gentle, lingering. "That's my Arya," he breathed into her lips. She rolled her eyes, but could not suppress the smile playing at her lips. "In your absence, I'll take care of estate business. I suppose someone has to keep things from going up in flames." Leon smiled, the warmth in her tone not missed by him. "Thank you," he whispered, leaving a gentle kiss on her temple. "I still don't like it," she muttered under her breath, but her fingers trailed down his arm, betraying her conflicted feelings. Worry lingered in her heart, but how she stopped him and hurt his pride. Pride in the man, secrets, and the Duke departure. Other side of city. Beyond the ruins on the outskirts of Silver City, shadows stirred under the pale, dying moon. The land there was forgotten, old stone consumed by time, vines climbing up cracked arches, runes so weathered that even the boldest scholars dared not misread them. The air was still, too still, the sort of quiet that felt unnatural. 3 figures stood at the center of a half-fallen courtyard. They had black cloaks weighing heavily over them, the hoods going so deep as to hide their faces, the outlines of their very forms hidden behind enchantment. The tallest one bore a magnificent staff of wood that was obsidian black and had veins of blue mana coursing through its surface, as if it had living water coursing through it. The one to her left broke the silence, voice low and impatient. "We still haven't found the artifact, priestess. We've searched every known chamber." Her tone was sharp, anxious, but the priestess did not turn. She stood still as stone, her gaze fixed upon the glowing moon above. "We will need find it," she said, her tone peaceful, but tinged with silent desperation. "We have to. The alignment takes place tomorrow, and as foretold in the prophecy, the goddess's husband will appear tomorrow. Our goddess requires her husband to be awakened. We need to be prepared to accept him, bring him to our goddess." But time is slipping. She was interrupted mid-sentence as a low vibration ran through the ruins. The earth creaked and split. Part of the stone wall next to them collapsed with a deafening roar, falling into a cloud of dust and rubble. "Get back," the priestess advised, spinning on her heel. The third man, closest to the fall, had narrowly avoided it. He hacked once, brushing stone dust from his shoulder. "Are you okay?" the priestess asked, hurrying forward. "I'm okay," she whispered. And then, after a moment, he gestured into the newly opened breach. "But I saw something. Look." Through the shroud of dust, a winding path had appeared, a staircase cut into the earth, hidden for centuries under stone and pretense. The doorway gaped like a mouth, black and ominous, the smell of stagnant air and damp stone seeping from the opening. The eyes of the priestess widened. She produced an ancient parchment from inside her robes, the ink worn and weak. Her gaze swept over the sketches, a map, old symbols, and then she glanced back towards the stairwell, her own breath coming hard. "This is it," she breathed. "Sealed chamber, just as written in the prophecy scroll." She advanced, her staff vibrating with energy as she summoned a shining sphere of blue light. The sphere floated before them, stretching their shadows long and distorted down the stairs. "Come on," she ordered. "There's not much time." The 3 descended. The air thickened with every step, and the stone under their boots seemed alive, softly pulsing with ancient magic, as if the stairwell itself had been chiseled by holy hands. Grotesque runes hovered in the walls, softly burning, responding to the priestess's proximity. They said nothing. Speech would only ring back down the corridor and draw attention to what was best kept secret. They finally descended to the bottom. The room in front of them was huge, a cathedral of rock buried under the ground. Moss was stuck in the corners, old bone fragments littered the borders, and a thin mist hovered just above the ground. But what captured every gaze was the whirlpool suspended in the air. A whirlwind chakra, suspended motionless like a paused storm in space, hovered above a large, circular stage. It glowed a blinding blue-white and spun quietly. The chakra was segmented into 4 precise quadrants, the shape of a complex symbol for balance and unity. Within each quadrant, there was a void, the size and shape of a clenched fist, for something yet to arrive. The air was simultaneously hot and cold, a contradiction that breathed like a living thing. The priestess fell to one knee, her staff dropped. "It's real," she said, her voice filled with reverence. "The divine artifact of balance." Her 2 companions stood rigid, but they also fell to knee and gaping in wonder. She stood up once more slowly, her gaze fixed on the whirlpool chakra above. As the prophecy for the goddess awakens, this whirlpool chakra, the divine artifact of balance, must be used by her designated husband according to prophesy, the one who was born outside fate and who carries the mark of multiplicity will emerge to unveil the sealed power. The figure on the left whispered, "And you really believe that husband of the goddess will come tomorrow night?" "I don't believe," replied the priestess. I know. It's all leading to this. Even the stars are aligning into their place. She stepped forward, meeting them with a full-face glance for the first time. Underneath her hood, her face oscillated between calm bliss and covered-up desperation. Back, the priestess warned, spinning away. The third man, closest to the falling wall, had dodged in just in time. He coughed once, shaking stone dust from his shoulder. "Are you okay?" the priestess inquired, advancing quickly. "I'm okay," she whispered. Then, a moment later, he nodded into the new breach. "But I found something. See this?" Behind the curtain of dust, a thin opening had been revealed. A stairway cut straight into the ground, concealed for centuries behind stone and deception. The doorway opened like a mouth, dark and ominous, the smell of stale air and wet stone pouring out from inside. The priestess's eyes grew wide. Rapidly, she drew an old parchment out of her robes, the faded ink and thin. Her gaze swept over the drawings, a map, the symbols of an ancient language, and then back to the stairwell, her breath catching. "This is it," she whispered. "The sealed chamber, exactly as detailed in the scroll of prophecy." She moved forward, her staff vibrating with energy as she summoned a glowing sphere of blue light. The sphere floated before them, stretching their shadows long and distorted down the stairs. "Come," she ordered. "We don't have much time." The three of them went down. The air became cooler with each step, and the rock underfoot seemed to breathe, beating dimly with long-forgotten magic, like the stair itself had once been shaped by angelic fingers. Unsettling runes ran in the walls, pulsing weakly, and responded to the priestess's presence. Nothing was said. Speech would resound down the corridor and advertise what best went unseen. Finally, they found themselves at its end. The room in front of them was huge, a stone cathedral underground. Moss grew on the corners, scattered pieces of ancient bone decorated the edges, and a pale mist wafted inches above the ground. But what commanded every gaze to lift was the whirlpool floating in the air. A whirling spiral chakra, suspended motionless like a storm in time, hung above a broad, circular stage. It glowed blue-white, a deep and vibrant color, and spun in silence. The spiral was segmented into 4 sharp quadrants W, an elaborate symbol of balance and coming together. In each quadrant, an empty space, the shape of a closed fist, waited for something not yet here. The air was hot and cold simultaneously, a contradiction that seemed to breathe. The priestess knelt. Her staff went down. "It's real," she said, reverence weighing heavily in her voice. The divine artifact of balance. Her 2 friends were still rigid, but also fell in knee and gazing in wonder. She stood up once more slowly, her gaze not wavering from the churning chakra above. The prophecy states, "For the goddess awakens, this churning chakra, the divine artifact of balance, has to be used by her selected husband according to prophesy, the one who was born beyond fate, the one with the mark of multiplicity, will emerge to activate the sealed power." The figure on the left leaned forward and whispered, "And you still think that husband of the goddess will show himself tomorrow evening?" "I don't think," the priestess replied. "I know. It has all been leading up to this. Even the stars are in conjunction." She turned to them completely for the first time. Under her hood, her face shifted between smiling and hid desperation. "The husband of our goddess is already in motion. The threads are contracting. He comes in response to the pull. And when the moment arrives, this artifact has its true owner." There was a moment of silence, heavy and pregnant. Then the priestess turned back to the spiral and spoke softly to herself. "Let him come to us. Our goddess waits no longer." Behind her, the other 2 looked at each other. The air was heavy with tension between belief and fear. They were so near, and tomorrow, everything would be different. Morning in Galvia broke gently. The sky over the Moonwalker mansion colored itself peach and rose, clouds rolling back like curtains as sunbeams of gold streaked through the realm. Birds trilled in the far orchard, their song a gentle accompaniment to the leaves rustling on the breeze. Within the master bedroom of the estate, The air was suffused with a warm, lingering aroma of lavender and roses, the last remnants of passion from the previous night. The bed, which had been a mass of limbs and silk, was now tidily made, but the subtle impression of bodies still clung to the pillows. Leon sat beside the wide, arched window, already dressed in a pale golden, white robe, damp strands of his hair touching his cheek. Morning light flooded him as he sat cross-legged on the velvet couch, a steaming cup of tea untouched on the nearby side table. His sharp golden eyes roamed over a large map spread out on the low table before him. The map of the Moonwalker Duchy was spread out, its etched lines detailing all from the twisting rivers and cultivated fields to the untamed, woodland areas close to the borders. His golden eyes focused intently, a small crease in his brow as he followed the edge of Silver City, situated along the duchy's eastern border, close to a giant woodland called the Silver Forest. Red ink ringed many areas. Some safe areas ringed red, others tinted and indicated danger. His eyes rested upon the thick green area north of the duchy, one marked with no name, merely a sigil for restricted. Even in his own duchy, there were some areas he didn't know much about. With an exasperated sigh, Leon rolled the map half-closed and drew out another from a leather-bound pouch. This map carried the crest of the Moonstone Kingdom, the kingdom his duchy was a part of. At the kingdom's center stood Moonspire, the shining capital encircled by a ring of mountains and lakes, a natural stronghold. At the kingdom's outer borders were three great duchies, making up a triangular border: Moonwalker Duchy, Starlight Duchy, and Nova Duchy. Leon's fingers drummed his duchy's location. On the southern edge, close to the edge of the outer kingdom, where the wildlands pressed too close and politics tended to be thin. So remote, he grumbled. It makes sense, less control, more intrigue. But even this national map was not sufficient. He unfurled another scroll, a sweeping map of Galvia, the whole continent. His breath caught momentarily. The 5 forbidden forests were inscribed in foreboding black ink, each situated at strategic locations like anchors. 4 hidden within the domains of Galvia's great empires, each veiled in legend and sealed behind strong enchantments. The 5th stood alone, directly at the intersection of 5 sovereign kingdoms, including his own Moonstone Kingdom. The forest bordered Moonstone Kingdom, Skyfall Kingdom, Valor Kingdom, Duskhorn Kingdom, Norgren Kingdom, a perfect convergence point, as if the continent itself had attempted to forget the forest by enclosing it with politics. Leon hunched in closer, forehead furrowed deep, eyes darting between landmarks and borders. Why are these forests designated forbidden? What is inside this forest that calls for such fear? And then, he remembered. A gentle mechanical chime resonated within his mind, the system's voice still enigmatic even today. Several weeks ago, when he first entered this new world, the system provided him with forbidden information about Galvia and casually mentioned the forbidden forests, only to immediately caution him. Access denied. Warning: do not enter any forbidden forest unless host reaches Monarch Realm or higher. Low cultivation to lead host high probability of death. Host must not seek further knowledge at current stage. That memory came back with acuteness, causing Leon's back to stiffen. The system didn't give me the complete knowledge, he thought. It doesn't want me to know yet because my low level. He clicked tongue and sighed. System won't tell what's inside. Until some level, he grumbled. So, I have to discover myself. Yet curiosity nagged him. The maps, the secrets, the silence. It was like the stories, the old fantasy books he used to read in his previous life. He remembered the shows, anime, and sagas where the hero, frail and outnumbered, discovered a forbidden land, and in it, unimaginable power. Treacherous trials, lost legacies, ancient spirits. His heart pounded faster. If I go there, he mused, eyes sparkling dimly. Can I become even more overwhelmed? Could this world's so-called danger areas be my shortcut? For a moment, he was lost in the thought. Just as his mind wandered deeper into speculation, the gentle sound of a door opening brought him back to the present. Arya entered, shining and elegant. She had on a sweeping gown of regal purple and white, which was embroidered with silver vinework and lilies. Her amethyst-colored hair glowed in the light. Her eyes, still sleep-heavy but shining with love, sought his out. She wheeled a breakfast cart towards him, silver tray shining in sunlight. His mind, of prohibited forests, occult power, and impending mysteries, dissipated like dust and light. Smiling softly, he moved the maps out of the way, clearing space on the table just as she came up beside him. She smiled back at him, her beauty effortless in the way she set out a delicate porcelain service before him. Warm, buttered bread still steaming, a bowl of scented sweet pear porridge, and 2 cups of pale moonberry tea, their steam winding in slimy tendrils. She sat next to him, her gown puddling softly at her feet, each movement graceful yet intimate. "You could have simply sent the maids out for it," Leon said, his voice low with mirth. "I know," Arya said, a gentle laugh slipping past her lips. "But I wanted to cook for you myself." Her eyes contained nothing but warmth and love that didn't require words. Leon smiled, his chest constricting with soft affection. "You're spoiling me now," he murmured, leaning in to place a slow, tender kiss on her cheek. "But thank you for spoiling me." Her smile deepened, and her gaze never left his. "Eat before it gets cold, husband." And so they did, breaking bread in quiet silence. Theirs was a wordless, constant, profound connection. Outside, the sun ascended, pouring golden warmth over the stone floor and catching on their teacups like a benediction. Once the final bite disappeared, Leon pushed to his feet, extending his shoulders. Calm settled inside him, but under it all was a simmering thrum, a purpose that had implanted itself in his bones. "Time to leave," he announced. Arya's gaze grew narrowed, her face twisted into a concern. "Leon, I still don't think you should go off by yourself with any guards at all." He breathed out with a gentle smile. "Arya, it's not a raid, just a training excursion. I'll move quicker by myself." She pressed her lips together, not believing him. "You always say that." "I'll be okay," he told her. "If I'm not back at night, maybe I'm just stuck in a spar that lasts till dawn." She reached up, touching his cheek with gentle fingers. "That's not funny." Leon caught her hand gently. "I'll come back in one piece. Don't worry." She studied him quietly, gaze serious, then nodded. She understood. He had to go. It was who he was. But that didn't make it easier. "Then be safe. And come back quickly." "I will," he promised. She stepped closer, resting her head against his chest. "Just don't get excited and try to punch a power beast, all right?" Leon smiled. No promises. He faced the distant opposite end of the room. There, against the wall, was a towering mahogany bookshelf, unbroken unless one knew where to glance. Through inherited memory of the original Duke, the man he used to be, Leon knew where to reach. His fingers touched a familiar spine, a blue-covered book named in Empire's veins. He drew it half out. Click! The bookshelf shook. A gentle grinding was heard, and with a deep rumble, the shelf rolled out of the way, exposing a secret passage hewn of ancient stone and lined with softly glowing runes set into the walls. This was one of the Duke's old secrets, a private route known only to a trusted few. The corridor led to 2 hidden exits, one near the city center, the other skirting the edge of the distant forest. Arya stepped forward, eyes wide with quiet confusion. "You're using this way?" Arya asked. Leon nodded. "I want this journey to stay secret. This is the best way, no eyes, no questions." She looked at him a moment longer, then gave a small nod. She knew, as Duke, there were times he had to move quietly, unseen. This was one of those times. Her expression sobered once more. "So, no one will know you've left." "Huh, that's the idea." Arya stepped close again, her hands clasped together. "Then take care, darling, and come back soon." He leaned down, brushing her lips with his in a whisper of a kiss. "You too. Don't overwork. And make sure the estate doesn't burn down while I'm gone." He said last line with soft chuckle. She let out a weak laugh. Don't worry about. I will not. But it did nothing to conceal the concern in her eyes. I'll be back before you know it. Leon turned to the doorway and walked through. The instant he was past the doorway, the bookshelf started to slide back into position. Arya waited until the door closed with a click. For an extended moment, she remained standing there, not moving. And then, in a voice barely the still morning could hear, she whispered, "Be safe. The Silver Forest beckons." The edges of Silver City stretched out in a stillness, unblemished, unruffled by time. The sun rose and sent gentle golden rays across a sea of endless green. Hills rolled softly into the distance, and ancient trees stretched their twisted arms toward the sky. Here, nature reigned supreme. Among this ocean of green were two giant trees, unlike the others. Huge and old, their trunks were fat and twisted like old lovers holding onto each other across the centuries. Their bark was etched with deep grooves of time, but something in them glowed with pent-up power. Unlike the others, whose branches swayed freely in the wind, these two stood grave, watching, waiting. No birds had sat upon them. No vines had ventured up their bark. And the wind? It whistled unheard, as if respecting their hallowed quietness. Then a change. The air became thick, an ancient pulse thrummed through the ground. Magical creatures shifted in the distance, the quick snap of a sky-finned squirrel, the heavy, echoing roar of a distant fongbear. And then, silence again. Abruptly, shimmering runes inscribed themselves into the twin trees' trunks, rune after rune, as if by some ancient writing stirring from sleep. A shimmering pale, silver blue flowed over the inscriptions, dancing, pulsating, then growing bright. Crack! The bark between the two trunks rent apart, not by blade or axe, but as if the trees themselves were sundering themselves apart. A tear occurred, not boisterous but potent, and from this rent in the world, he came out. His hair was black and moved with the wind, strands shining in the morning light. Golden eyes, burning and hypnotic like molten suns, surveyed the world with serene authority. His face was disarming in its beauty, smooth jawline, aristocratic nose, high cheekbones, and lips that were set in subtle self-assurance. An absolute equilibrium of loveliness and peril. His physique, long and lean, held the bearing of a seasoned fighter covered with a charmer's exterior. Not an inch of him appeared weak. Once dressed in a shining white and gold robe worthy of a duke, he had been remade into a smooth black robe, plain but dignified, melting into shadows, suitable for journeying and fighting alike. It flowed around his frame with an innate ease, hinting at discipline. A wide sword lay over his back, its silver-inscribed hilt glowing, an implicit vow of might and competence. "Ah, so this is what the outside world is like," Leon said softly, his golden eyes raking over the rolling sea of green stretching out before him. His voice was tinged with a soft wonder, as if the very air made him humble. He breathed in deeply, the fresh smell of grass, dew, and subtle manna filling his lungs. So clean, so pretty. This magical world truly is something else. He turned around, glancing in the direction of the twin trees he had just passed through. But the area was closed, the bark unbroken and unblemished. No trace of the portal was left. The trees loomed high and still, like old sentinels guarding secrets. Leon smiled quietly. Amazing, secret paths concealed in nature. A magical gateway within a couple of trees. This world never ceases to amaze. Spinning once more, his golden eyes focused on the distant outline of Silver City. Its great wall shone in the morning light, standing high like a silver stronghold. At this distance, he could watch as travelers formed a long queue at the gate entrance. Merchants, adventurers, commoners, waiting for their chance to pass in. Leon did not make his way toward them. He turned the other direction, east, towards the mythic Silver Forest. It was at least 50 kilometers off, a shining line on the horizon, pumping with excitement. Finally, he breathed, his smile boyish and broad. Finally, My actual adventure begins. Since entering this world, Leon hadn't had a single opportunity to leave the great walls of the Moonwalker estate. His days had been filled with the burden of responsibility, securing his new lives, learning the intricate politics of the Galvia, and strategizing the future. Day by day, he conditioned his body and developed his strength, and in the evenings, he let himself fall into the embrace of love. Arya and Rias both had become his comfort, their arms a constant comfort, their warmth, affection, and shared passion became his sanctuary. He wasn't ungrateful for that peace. In fact, as he smiled quietly, Leon murmured, "It's not like I'm complaining. Being wrapped in their arms every night was very good and nice." But still, in some corner of his heart, the boy who used to stay on Earth and watch anime, read manga and web novels, had always desired more, dreams of great adventures. I desire that journey, that adventure, that thrill, that discovery. He breathed softly, golden eyes sparkling. What any earthling being who read that thrilling novel and manga ever desire. He smiled and he slightly bent low, muscles tight, breath steady. No more waiting. And then, like a bolt loosed from a bow, Leon dashed toward his adventure. Wind howled past him as grass bent to his path. His feet hardly touched the ground, a whirl of movement. His velocity, since entering the Master Realm, had long surpassed human capabilities. At his speed now, he could cover a kilometer in less than a minute, flying over brooks and dodging trees like a ghost. Within less than half an hour, he arrived at the border of the Silver Forest. He came to a stop, gasping steady, not from tiredness, but wonder. Before him rose towering trees unlike any he had ever seen. Their leaves sparkled like silver polished to a high sheen, reflecting light in dazzling brilliance. Even the bark shone faintly in the sun. Bushes, moss, and ferns all had a silver glow, as if the whole forest had been bathed in moonlight. Beauty, he breathed, and then a recollection had risen up. The system's knowledge, what he knows is, the Silver Forest. Centuries past, the Silver Forest was infamous for its beauty, but not because of its glory. Deep in its core traveled a horror magic beast, a silver-skinned minotaur of the Grand Conqueror realm. Ferocious, large, and with an appetite for blood, the beast butchered all that ever entered the trees. Its fury reached far beyond the forest. It burned villages, destroyed towns, and brought cities to devastation. No force within the Moonstone Kingdom was strong enough to counter. As a last resort, the King of Moonstone appealed to the Empire, whose vast wealth and superior cultivation enabled them to breed Grand Conqueror realm fighters. The Empire answered, not in charity, but to maintain balance and harmony in the land. There descended upon the woods one Empire grower, and following a clash that rattled the heavens and cleft the earth, finally was the death of the creature. But at the Minotaur's falling, its gore, odd and shining like shining silver liquid, spilled into earth, seeping down into roots of trees. Since then the woods were not the same. The leaves went silver. The bark shone dimly in moonlight, and the land that had once been a land of death became a land of legend, the Silver Forest. From that day on, all that grew here carried his stamp, a gift or a warning. Leon gazed. So that's how this was made. Blood of beast is potent enough to alter nature itself. He smiled, uttered only, "Interesting." Then, he gingerly went for the blade on his back and drew it with respect. The sword shone in the light, its name inscribed along the bottom of the blade, the Neon Blade. A heirloom, the pride of the Moonwalker family. I inherited your name and reputation. And this sword, too, Leon whispered, his voice hardly audible as he cradled the sword with reverence. He raised his eyes to heaven, eyes soft with feeling. Your death gave me this new life, and for that, I'm truly grateful, former Leon, he said quietly, as if speaking to the wind itself. Wherever you are, heaven, reborn, or resting in the stars, I hope you're blessed with comfort and peace. A solemn silence followed, broken only by the gentle rustling of silver leaves in the distance. Leon's eye fell to the glinting trees of the Silver Forest again, and to the blade seated solid in his hand. The metal glimmered, promising. He blew out, the faint smile tracing his mouth. Try to do it with that. He executed the sword through a slow, intentional curve. The movement thrummed with finesse. Then he muttered, "System. Open combat shop." A transparent screen materialized in his eyes. Sequences of martial arts and sword techniques scrolled before him. He moved rapidly, accessing the Mortal Realm sword arts. Buy. Sword art. Falling petal dance. Mortal grade. Price. 10 BP. Proceed with purchase. Leon agreed. Purchase confirmed. Downloading technique to host memory and muscles. Synchronization. 3%. 27%. 89%. 100%. Falling petal dance. Installation complete. Leon's body shook as know-how flowed through his bones. Not theory, but muscle memory. His arm coiled. His stance shifted. It felt like recalling something he'd never been taught. He swung the sword once more. This time, razor sharp. Clean. The wind tore with a crisp whoosh. Huh. He breathed, eyes shining. So that's what makes a difference. He glanced back at the forest. Enigmatic, shining, endless. Today, he said with a grin, I'm going to paint this forest silver leaves in crimson. Chuckling softly, he stepped forward and entered the forest. The moment he crossed the tree line, it was like stepping into another realm. The air cooled. Light filtered through shimmering leaves. Every step echoed with magic. And then, rustle. Bushes shook nearby. Leon's senses came alive. He crept forward, sword down but at the ready. As he looked through the leaves, a small animal leaped into sight. It was a rabbit, soft white fur, long ears, cute black eyes. But violet lines as thin as a hair glowed along its back, and its ears flicked at speeds too quick to track. Leon blinked. A silver hop rabbit. It was a Mortal Realm magical beast under the system, tiny, quick, and apparently deadly. It could leap 20 meters in the time it took to blink and deliver a headbutt powerful enough to break bone of neophyte-level cultivator. Leon smiled. Light up, warm up, buddy, yeah? He took one step forward, assuming a fighting stance. Okay, little guy, let's have fun. He disappeared. A blink afterward, shing, the rabbit stood rigid in mid-hop. Slice. Its body fell in two neat halves. No blood was spilled. The movement had been that quick, that clean. Leon took a few paces forward, blinking in mild confusion. That's it. Then it occurred to him he was Master Realm, and the rabbit was only mortal. He ruffled the back of his head sheepishly. I suppose I got a bit too excited. But all of a sudden in his mind, ding! The familiar sound of the system resonated ominously. The quest panel. But then, ding! A ringing chime sounded directly within Leon's head. It wasn't out there. No bird call or wind sound. It clanged in his skull like a tuning fork of pure light. He blinked. What the? Before he could get the words out, a shimmering blue screen unfolded before his eyes, suspended in midair like a holographic interface. Mechanical phrases scrolled across in flawless gold letters. Congratulations to host. First kill registered. Leon narrowed his eyes. Registered? He grumbled. The voice in his head, smooth, mechanical, and always emotionless. A new window flashed into being before his eyes. Unlike the standard system shop or stat panel, this one appeared new, thinner edges, darker color. Registration complete. Kill, Silver Hop Rabbit, Mortal Realm Beast. Reward. 1 blank point has been added to host system currency, blank point. Leon blinked once, then twice. Huh. He furrowed his brows and muttered, wait. I'm earning blank points for killing now. Another chime followed, as if answering his thoughts. Ding! As per system protocol, by host's first kill, new function has been unlocked. Quest panel. Activated. You may now access the quest panel at any time. Leon stood mutely for a moment, gold-colored eyes tracking the appearance of the transparent screen. He knew the system by heart, had utilized it for weeks already. The shop, stat panel, even the ability buying? Yeah, he's familiar with them all. This? No idea. Quest panel. Then, another window appeared to the left of his field of vision. Clean, sharp, and organized like a game menu. It hummed with subtle energy. Quest panel added to system interface. Host now has access to Quest functionality. Simply with thought of mind, Leon's jaw was slightly agape. What the actual hell? And before he could even think another thing, yet another screen glowed to life in front of him. Ding! Host information accessed. Name, Leon Moonwalker. Age, 30. Cultivation realm, Master. Race, human. Talent, average, evolved from low. Level, 25. HP, 100 out of 100. STR, 36/100. AGL, 34/100. VIT, 37/100. STM, 35/100. INT, 59/100. DEF, 33/100. Blank points, 39. Skills, Touch of Charm, Eye of Judge, Scent of Arousal. Combat skills, Body Reinforcement, Void Breaker Art, Falling Petal Dance Sword Art. Hera members, Rias Moonwalker, Arya. 2 new icons glowed in the bottom left of the interface, System Shop and the newly included Quest panel, both with faintly glowing outlines. Leon blinked a few times. His lips formed the words, but nothing happened initially. This is crazy, he breathed. In the last week, his cultivation had taken a stunning leap. A couple of fervent nights with Arya hadn't only strengthened their connection, they had driven his stagnant base into the Master Realm. The transformation hadn't ended there. His talent, previously low when he come this word now, had quietly developed to average. He hadn't required pills or outside treasures. Simply her. Simply connection. With sex from her, he had amassed a whopping 48 blank points, rewarded when intimacy was called for. Out of that total, he had used 10 to buy the Falling Petal Dance Sword Art, leaving him with 38 until this point. System reward, plus 1 blank point. 39 blank points. The count flickered weakly on his screen bottom. He'd learned the ins and outs of the system shop by trial and error within the estate. But this new window, the Quest panel, summoned him with the promise of unrealized potential. Like a treasure chest slightly ajar, challenging him to peek within. His golden eyes narrowed with interest. Without delay, he gave a mental order. System, open Quest panel. Ding, Quest panel opening. The interface shifted. Ding, Quest panel. Current quests. Slay a mortal realm monster. Reward, 1 blank point. Accept. Y/N. Slay a novice realm monster. Reward, 5 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Slay a master realm monster. Reward, 10 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Slay a grandmaster realm monster. Reward, 50 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Slay a monarch realm monster. Reward, 100 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Slay a grand monarch realm monster. Reward, 500 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Slay a conqueror realm monster. Reward, 1,000 blank points. Accept. Y/N. Note, there is no time limit to how many magical beasts you kill. Rewards can be repeated. No time penalty. Leon stared at the screen. His golden eyes widened, the corners twitching with incredulity. What the fuck? He groaned under his breath. His fist cramped slightly. These are reward levels? Just for kills? That's crazy. He leaned in at an angle, eyebrows lifted. So if I go hunt only a single Grandmaster Realm magical beast, I gain 50 blank points with a kill. He grinned widely now. So I get blank points not just from sex, but also from killing magical beast. Affirmative, host. He nodded his head as he was thinking something, and he suddenly system, he said calmly, brow raising. Why did you not mention this feature earlier? Host failed to meet the activation requirements. Quest panel is opened only on first kill of magical beast. Ugh, Leon clicked his tongue. TCH, you penny-pinching mechanical sod. Clarification, efficiency in terms of resources is crucial. System operations unlock step by step for the sake of host advancement. He rolled his eyes, but he wasn't really angry, just slightly irritated in the manner that a person might be when discovering they've been denied a freebie on a technicality. Yeah, Leon growled, waving a dismissive hand. Late, sure, but hey, better late than never, right? He smirked and continued under his breath. As the old phrase goes, even a last sword strikes really deadly if attacked precisely. System response. Host idiom acknowledged, and system appreciate host thinking. Leon rolled his shoulders, relaxing again. Anything else you're hiding from me? He asked. The system paused, silent for an uncharacteristically long moment. Unknown. Leon raised an eyebrow. You don't know. System core functions are adaptive and reactive to host growth. Not all modules are accessible or visible to current authority level. Leon glared vacantly. You're saying even you don't know what you've got in yours. Another prompt then slid quietly along his interface. Correct. He laughed scornfully and rubbed his temples. You're like a treasure chest that forgot what it's protecting. He clicked his tongue once more. TCH. I guess I'll have to dig the rest out myself. But a second later, another prompt flashed. Friendly reminder. Although gaining blank points from beast kills is effective, host's primary route to power remains harem expansion. Intimate interactions reward heavily, both in points and possible upgrades. Leon burst into laughter. Huh, how you think if I'd forget that? He exclaimed, tossing his head back. His smile became wide, nearly wolfish. Believe me, I intend to create the largest, baddest harem this world's ever known. System response. Acknowledged. That is a highly optimal plan, host. As the window grew dark, Leon breathed out and faced once more toward the glimmering expanse of the silver forest. Morning mist sparkled silver through the trees, and the howls, screeches, and roars of magical creatures far away sounded like a lethal lullaby. He narrowed his eyes. Dozens of them waited out there. Stronger, faster, deadlier, and everyone was his blank point and free ticket to grow more powerful. Okay, he growled, sword lying lightly in his hand. Let's go make some blank points, baby. His order was silent but unmistakable. System, take all active quests. Ding! All quests taken. Quest tracker activated. Progress will now be tracked in real time. Good luck, host. Leon sprinted off, boots hardly touching the ground. The silver forest engulfed him in darkness and glitter, silver forest trees like whispering secrets older than the kingdoms. And in forest, many magical beasts stirred. Someone is large, someone is quick, and someone is hungry. Leon ran towards deep of forest where he met a perfect sparring partner for him. But before he could go deep 200 m in forest, a shrill cry ripped across the air. Scree! A silhouette exploded from overhead treetops, feathers shining like burnished bronze, talons wide open. The beast dived with killer precision, slicing through leaves in a bloody streak. Leon's eyes flew up. A wind-razor falcon, he grumbled, identifying the crescent-shaped crest running down its head and the blast circling its wings. Mortal realm monster, quick one, too. The falcon let out another scream and dived low, its wings cutting the air as blades of wind coalesced around it like intangible daggers. The monster hurled them, 3 blasts of compressed air striking toward Leon in an instant. Leon did not flinch. He did not need to. He simply swung his fist this time, with Void Breaker art used. A flash, silver, clean flash when he swing fist. His arm flashed like lightning, cutting a diagonal slash through the air. Wind blades broke on impact, and before the falcon could even shriek again, its body was split in two. The two pieces spun through the air before they crashed into a bush some meters away with a muddy thud. He stood there for a second, blinking. He looked down at his hand, curling and uncurling the fingers. I have to get better control over my strength. If I do this at a continued rate, anything under Master Realm will not even last a warm-up against me. Ding. Host has killed Mortal Realm Beast, Wind Razor Falcon. +1 blank point has been credited to host's account. Leon didn't even scowl. He laughed, in fact. Another one. He looked up into the treetops as he holstered his blade. Another Mortal Realm monster, and another point. He grinned broadly. Come on, then. Bring me more, you little flying blank points. Predator's reflection. The silver forest no longer remained silent. Somewhere deep under the ancient canopy, where silver leaves rustled under a sun already climbing towards its zenith, a clump of silver grass had turned crimson. Blood saturated the blades, coloring the glade in macabre artistry. 5 bodies lay scattered like discarded toys, 5 red-hued foxes, their bodies slack and eyes wide in death, steam still rising from their wounds. Leon stood at the center of them all, chest rising and falling in deliberate breath, his body covered in streaks of gore and sweat. His golden eyes burned like hot coals. Small cuts on his chest and arms etched his skin, thin but numerous. He ignored them. To his front lay the final beast still snarling. It was different, bigger, smarter. Its scarlet fur glimmered like embers, and 6 tails thrashed the air with anger. Its deep ember-orange eyes seethed with fury at him, not fear, but rage. It burned with intellect behind those eyes. Scarlet Hexafox, Leon whispered in a voice, scrunching up his eyes. Early Master Realm, and angry. The creature moved with ghastly elegance, every paw step silent. These creatures were fast and had an affinity for fire type. They could disappear in smoke and reappear in mid-air in an instant. But this one, injured and covered in blood, was fighting to the death. It wasn't merely an animal. It was a predator fighting to protect its own. Leon's body was covered in its kind's blood, his originally black cloak now tacky with dried red. His breathing became slower, yet the flame of sword will within him blazed. He felt it, the tides of sword intent swelling. Finish it, he growled. His position changed. Right foot back, left foot forward, blade held diagonally high. And then he charged. As dropping flower petal swept up in breeze, his sword came arcing in lovely rhythm, light-footed, fluid. Silver arcs of shimmering air broke forth as his falling petal dance sword art unfurled. The beast lunged, fangs bared, fire licking its jaws, but it was too late. Shine thunk. The Hexafox's body stiffened halfway through the lunge. A pure silver arc bisected its spine. In the course of the very next heartbeat, it collapsed into 2 identical halves. Its fatal eyes, fixed upon Leon, continued to seethe with hatred as if its spirit would not submit even in demise. Leon sighed. Damn it. This fox is terribly hard to defeat. He just stood there an extra moment or 2, his eyes on the dead creature. Then, ding! Host has killed Master Realm Magical Beast, Scarlet Hexafox. 10 blank points credited, allocated to host account. A lazy grin pulled at Leon's mouth. At last, he whispered. An actual challenge. He glanced upwards. The sun currently blazed down on him from directly above. Noon. For hours had passed since he'd initially ventured into the Silver Forest. During that period, he'd killed numerous 36 mortal realm creatures, 15 novice realm creatures, and now, this single master realm monster. He accessed his interface in his mind. Blank points, 39 plus 36, mortal, plus 15 by 5, novice, plus 10, master, equals 160. 160 blank points. He arched his hand, wincing as his palm adhered to the hilt of his sword. Blood had still clung in layers, scabbing into his armor and greaves. The odor was pungent, copper and smoke. He most likely smelled like a battlefield. But in place of disgust, he smiled. My martial art getting better, and my sword's art getting better too. My body, reflexes, and instinct too. He shrugged his shoulder. That fox beast pushed me to my limit. His eyes dropped to the sword in his hand. The previously immaculate silverboard longsword was now chipped on the edge. Delicate fractures ran close to the hilt, spiderweb cracks from colliding with the master-tier fox's flame-infused claws. The previously immaculate silverboard longsword was now dented along the edge. Delicate cracks spiderwebbed from the bottom of the blade, close to the hilt, testament to the vicious collision with the master-level fox's flame-infused claws. TCH. This blade won't last another actual fight, Leon grumbled. He struck it gently against a nearby boulder. The crack spread with a soft click, verifying his suspicion. Guess it's about time I bought a new one. But this time, better be tough enough to keep pace. He breathed heavily, but did not dawdle. Taking a deep breath, he glanced around. The woods were still dense, the atmosphere full of mana and the echoes of faraway beast howl and roar. But exhaustion never caught up to him. Starvation did not gnaw at his stomach. He was now a Master Realm cultivator, his body boosted, able to endure a week without rest, food, and water. He sheathed the sword and walked, shadows swaying as leaves shimmered overhead. I must find more sparring partners, stronger, ones who challenge me to my last edge. And so, he walked further into the forest. Each step was quiet, but purposeful. Determination seeped from his very bones. The smell of blood clung thickly to him, his clothes stained dark, his aura sharp and violent like a predator in the midst of the hunt. The silver forest answered. Birdsong dimmed. Insects grew silent. The lesser creatures, feeling the crushing presence emanating from him, crept into their holes or fled on wings. Even the wind paused, as if the forest itself waited and watched. Time slipped. Minutes, possibly more. The dappled light coming through the silver-canopied trees changed position slightly. He walked on, eyes alert, boots over roots and fallen leaves making no noise. And then, splash. He halted. A soft wave, faintly heard, but unmistakable in the stillness. Leon halted. His golden eyes drew in fractionally. Head tilted. The unmistakable call of water, moving slowly, rhythmically. Not the sound of a crashing river, but the calm hush of a lake. Water, he grunted to himself. His face changed. Not wary, but thoughtful. He spun, tracking the sound. More instinct than reason drove him around to face the sound. His boots scraped across moss-covered stone and silver-embroidered roots until at last the trees parted and beauty was revealed. What he found was a clearing in the dense forest, a broad, open field drenched in golden light of Sunday. At its center lay a lake, its waters clear, peaceful, and quiet. The surface glimmered like polished silver, reflecting the tall trees that ringed it. Silver-leaved branches dipped over the water, their leaves swaying in slow motion with the wind, sending shards of silver light rippling across the mirrored surface. "Damn," he whispered. "What a beauty." He inched his way forward slowly. The air here was quiet, nearly spiritual. Kneeling at the lip, Leon inserted his hands in. Cool, clean water rose to caress them. He cupped the water, dripping his face first, before wiping the blood off his arms and clothes. Next came his sword, immersed halfway, the red streaming off in curl-like tendrils. That better. Then, instincts surged within him. Danger. He recoiled, twisting body to the side. Water burst up just as he was moving, a water geyser exploding in front of him. He skidded down, cracking his blade and dropping into stance. His golden gaze fixed on the lake. Something moved beneath. Then the lake burst. It rose. A magical beat with a huge form broke the surface, water streaming off its scaled hide. It was sleek, crocodilian in body, but with horned ridges and silver-blue burning eyes. Steam puffed from its nostrils. Muscles rippled under sapphire scales. Aqua's serpent beast. Leon breathed, eyes narrowing. Its eyes locked with his cold, ancient, and unmistakably predatory. A beast that did not regard him as threat, but as prey. From the throb of its aura itself, he knew. Average-level Master Realm. He muttered, lips curling into a lupin grin. Ha! It seems I no longer need to seek out magical beasts. He cocked his chin ever so slightly, allowing a gush of blood to slide down his cheek. The sun above glinted in his golden eyes, its shine echoing the excitement igniting within him. They approach me. The snake bellowed in thunder, arching high as a column of water burst behind it in a splintering geyser. The shock ran through the trees, sent birds screaming out of the canopy, and trembled through the glade like a battle yell. Leon remained unshaken, unmoved. And then he laughed. Not mockery, not arrogance, simply sheer delight. the sort only a war madman could experience when looking into the face of death and challenging it to do its worst. "Let's dance, big guy," he snarled, crouching low. He clamped tighter on his dented blade. "Let's see if your scales can thicker or better than that fox's claws." And with that, Leon blasted forward, a silver blur slicing straight into the heart of the storm. The aqua serpent beast. The surface of the silver lake was broken. A geyser of water shot up into the sky, drenching the glade in a torrent of sound. Leon stepped back reflexively, boots scuffling over wet moss as his sword flashed into guard position. Something huge emerged from the depths. Scales of midnight sapphire disturbed the water first, glinting like burnished armor. Afterwards came the ridged, horned head, crocodilian in outline, but thinner, more deadly. Steam spat out of its nostrils. Silver blue eyes fixed on Leon with a still, appalling malevolence. "Aqua serpent beast," he grunted, eyes squinting. The beast rose up from the lake, coiled and coiling, an impenetrable wall of sinuous muscle and primal fury. Water streamed down its sides in rivulets, hissing as it encountered the heat emanating from its body. The air hummed. Mana charged like electricity in Leon's bones. Its aura hit him like a crashing tide. Master Realm, mid-level. Strength sufficient to raise a town. And it was looking at him, not like a threat, like food. A creeping smile curled Leon's lips even as the heaviness bore down on his chest. He tilted his chin fractionally higher. "They come to me now," he muttered under his breath. The serpent reared back and bellowed. The noise was deafening, a grinding, primal scream that shook birds from the branches and rippled across the lake like an earthquake. A column of water shot up into the air behind it, crashing back down with explosive force. Leon didn't blink. Instead, he laughed, low, rough, and breathless, not from arrogance, but from the rush coursing through his veins. "Let's dance, big guy." He stepped forward. A silver flash slashed across the clearing as he ran in, sword lifted in a descending arc. He hit the serpent's flank, clang. The blade clanged like metal striking stone. Sparks flew from the point of impact. The serpent hardly winced. Clang! The blow shook his bones. His sword hit just above the serpent's eye, and ricocheted. Not a mark. "Damn," Leon spat, withdrawing. "Its scales are harder than the hexafox's claws." The snake spun, jaws yanking wide. A pressure spray of water shot from its throat. Wham! Leon sidestepped, the torrent missing him by inches. It blasted through 3 trees behind him like paper. Bark burst. Shards rained. He landed on the ground and rolled, choking from the pressure shock. Its attacks are quick and precise. No excess motion. He slipped back onto his feet and swung his sword once more, this time at the serpent's belly. Another flash of metal. No breach. TCH nothing? Bastard scales are cheating. The serpent attacked. Its jaws snapped shut where he just stood. He jumped back, flipped over in midair, and landed swinging. The serpent coiled its tail. Wham! The blow crashed into Leon's side like a battering ram. He went flying 10 meters, smashed through a tree trunk, and landed in the dirt with a jar. Blood spewed from his mouth. GHH! He hacked hard, torso racked with agony, and rolled onto his side. His ribs expanded with each breath. Blood coated his tongue, tangy metallic. But still, a smile crept across his face. "That hurt," he said, wiping his mouth. "But I'm definitely learning something from this, no doubt about it." He stood, slower this time. His hand trembled slightly from hit as he gripped the sword. This thing fights like it owns the water. Because it does. His gaze shifted to the lake. The serpent wasn't budging. It couldn't. He could sense the manner in which it anchored itself there. All its energy was concentrated in a 10-meter circle around the water. It's bound to its element. Its dominion ends at the shore. The serpent, his mouth, serpent again, its affinity manifesting. Spirals of water swirled around it, creating enormous, lethal projectiles. Boom! A cannonball burst of water shot in the direction of Leon. He rolled sideways, just out of the way, as the earth behind him shattered in a geyser of mud and broken rock. 1, 2, 3. More cannonade. He avoided the first two, but the third struck him on the side and slammed him into a boulder. Shards of rock webbed across the stone behind him. He wheezed, finding it hard to get up. TCH, that magical affinity's a pain. His thoughts ran mad. In Galvia, cultivators who made it into the Master Realm could perceive 6 elemental affinities: fire, water, earth, light, darkness, and air. With proper training, humans could use them all. But beasts? A blast of water cut through him, splitting a tree in two. Beasts could only control one affinity. But their mastery? Always highest quality. Always frightening. Leon gritted his teeth. He'd never studied one spell. Not elemental channeling, anything remotely close to magic. Body, blade, battle. That had been Leon's motto since day one he entered this world. Just harden the flesh, sharpen the instincts, refine the craft. It had always sufficed. While other farmers planted their noses in runes, mana equations, and ancient tomes, following formation circles and reciting incantations, Leon trained hellish. Strength to him wasn't about glowing glyphs or mana equations. It was momentum, muscle, and movement. You didn't cast power. You became it. Back home, he learned by observation and idolized anime heroes. One Punch Man, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, and other martial anime, where fists dominated fireballs and brute strength bludgeoned magic like glass. When he awoke here, in a world saturated with spellcraft, he'd laughed. Even the original Leon hadn't wielded much magic. So why should he? Even the original Leon of this universe had been a close combat fighter, hardly practicing magic. Why should he then? Spells were unnecessary when your blade could best magic? Apparently. Now it did. TC, magic casters are probably laughing their asses off, Leon growled, just parrying another blast. If they knew half the crap I used to say about spells. He stumbled back, blood on his lip, sword shaking in his grip. A long cracked spiderweb down the hilt. Yeah, he scoffed, spitting to the side. I'd be the joke of the damn continent. But then, as he prepared for his final push, something in his mind clicked. After this, it's time to stop clinging to my Earth logic and those damn anime tropes. This is not a tale in which you die and are given a second chance. This is my actual life now. If this world is based on magic, then I will learn it. Not to be like them, not to belong, but because I am finished pretending I don't need it. I am finished being weak with it all around me, because the power to keep everything I have built safe is right here, right in front of me. And I won't lose it by being too damn stubborn. His eyes burned with resolve. I'll learn this damn magic, he growled, locking his gaze on the serpent. He pointed the tip of his sword toward the coiling beast. But first, I'll carve it out of your corpse. The fall of the aqua serpent beast. I'll learn this damn magic, he growled, locking his gaze on the serpent. But first, I'll carve it out of your corpse. The serpent hissed, coils tightening. Another blast tore from its throat, a spiraling jet of water. Leon raised his sword. Clang! The force slammed into the blade, nearly wrenching it from his grip. A crack snaked down the hilt. You hellspawn fish bastard, he spat, staggering backward. His breath came in harsh gasps. His hands throbbed. For the first time today, in this never-ending forest fight, he felt more than hurt. He felt deep, biting annoyance. He charged once more, weaving to the left, leaping off a rock. He kicked off a tree, spinning in mid-leap slash. A slash appeared along the serpent's neck, but not severe. The snake rose and bellowed once more, launching another geyser of water under Leon's landing position. Boom! The blast threw him out of control. He spun, landed hard on one knee, and slid on wet stone. A voice inside his head. System notice. Host, if fighting continues on current trajectory, estimated probability of death, 80%. Leon breathed slowly, wiped blood off his lip. Then he grumbled, You really know how to kill the mood, don't you? System. Sarcasm detected. Do you wish to turn on motivational mode? Not the time. He leaped back as the serpent whipped out another tail swipe. It shattered the stone he'd stood on to rubble. System reminder. Have host you forgotten the knowledge bestowed by the system? His gaze narrowed. What are you talking about? System. Aqua serpent beasts. life force condensed in horn structure. Shatter the horn and leads to internal mana collapse. Leon's eyes went to the monster's head. The horn, crested back like a crown, jagged. Son of a, you could have told me sooner. System. Host seemed to be enjoying fight. Also, host never asked. Leon breathed through his teeth. Smart ass. Okay. Focus. He ducked low, spread wide. All right then. Let's take your crown off. All right then, Leon growled, his mouth twisting into a hard grin. Let's take your crown off. The snake hissed angrily, and for the first time it retreated. Water surged around it as it partially submerged, attempting to hide its horn. Playtime's over. Leon's boots touched the ground, and he took off, sprinting, jumping from boulder to rubble as if the ground were his playground. Water cannons detonated around him. Boom! Whoosh! But he didn't slow. His blood was boiling, sword singing in his hands, each intake of air crackling with a rush of fight. Go on then, he bellowed, scything through a gusher. Not now, though. A jet screamed against his cheek, flipped him, ducked, and kicked off a cypress root. Falling petal dance, second bloom. Shing! His blade helixed downward in a shining slash. Clang! It clanged against the horn, bounded off. No shatter. Leon landed hard, skidded, and continued to chuckle. Harder than you look? Huh. He snarled through a smile. Good. I like a challenge. The serpent bellowed and lashed its tail. Crack. It flung Leon into a tree. The trunk burst in two. He fell into the mud. Hard. But instead of wincing, he stood up with fire burning in his eyes and blood on his teeth. This, he panted, this is what I'm talking about. His gaze fixed on the whirling armor of water guarding the horn. Cursed intelligence. Resilient. Strategic. Flawless. Let me see you're so smart when you'll dead. Leon pushed forward once more, adrenaline searing pain out his mind. The snake roared with rage, water bubbling like a tidal deity. But Leon didn't hesitate. He sprang high, blade. His sword crashed against the watery armor, broke it. The horn shattered. The snake shrieked, Escharidi, thrashing wildly. Leon rode the frenzy, blade crashing down again, wham. The break went deeper. The beast spewed a geyser, boom, sweeping Leon off his feet. In midair, his smile broadened. One more. Crack. In midair, he spun, teeth gritted, arms throbbing, and with a last roar of effort. In midair, Leon spun, teeth gritted, arms shaking from exhaustion. With a last roar, full of rage and defiance. Rhea! Crack! His blade bit deep. The serpent's horn snapped off clean with a deafening shatter. The beast froze. Then it let out one final, soul-rending scream, low and guttural, ringing out across the forest. Ruhurarai! It wasn't pain, it was fury, shock, the bellow of a dying monarch. A nauseating shudder coursed through its huge frame. It jerked wildly, tail lashing back and forth. Water erupted from its nostrils and jaws in blasting torrents. FWSH, as mana burst from within, flashing like lightning in the maelstrom of its dying spasms. Leon struck the ground hard on one knee. His sword broke in his hand, beyond repair. The shattered hilt clattered on the ground next to him. Then it came, the end. The serpent thrashed once. Then its enormous body collapsed. With a tremendous crash, its body splashed into the lake. Splash! A wall of water roared up, drenching Leon in an instant. It slammed like a wave, icy and unrelenting, stripping the blood from his face and arms, drenching him to the bone that he didn't budge. He just stood, soaked, panting, watching as the beast slowly submerged into the depths. Ripples spread out in immaculate silence, as if the world itself were holding its breath. Stillness. Then, ding. Master Realm Magical Beast defeated. Aqua Serpent Beast. 10 blank points awarded. Total BP, 170. Leon fell onto the silver grass with a loud thud, breath harsh, chest laboring like bellows. His cloak was stuck to him, tattered, wet, and smeared with blood. His hair dripped down across his face, matted and stuck to his forehead. A low rumbling chuckle echoed from his throat. That was a fight. His voice was gruff, cracked with fatigue, but tinged with an odd, almost wild satisfaction. His entire body ached. Each breath jolted pain through his ribs, and his vision throbbed with the stodgy beat of his heart. In this agony, he slurred, gazing down at the welts, the slashes, the blood. It's like my body's been ripped in two. He winced and moved, looking at the broken hilt beside him. Sigh, this sword finally broke down, huh? He picked it up, looked at the broken edge, and then discarded it with a worn-out grin. Guess I need a new one that can make it through more than one boss battle. He leaned back and saw the sky, sunlight filtering through the trees. At least 3 hours till sunset. Ding! A gentle chime resonated in his ears. A pale blue screen glowed to life before him. System, scanning area around me. Scan complete. Magical fluctuation found at lakebed. Source unknown. Leon's eyes flickered open. Wait, what? There's something down there. His heart skipped a beat. What is it? He asked, trying to force himself up against the agony. System, a treasure. Leon's eyebrow jerked. Following a moment of hesitation, he mumbled, You knew, didn't you? About the treasure. From the beginning. System, positive. He looked at the bright screen for an instant and then groaned low. You gotta be kidding me. And why the devil's hell didn't you let me know earlier? System, host did not ask. Leon clicked his tongue, annoyed. TCH, classic. System, I'm programmed to help, not spoil. I indicate directions. It's your option to walk them. Leon rolled his eyes and let out a dry laugh. Oh, great. Now you're doing fortune cookie wisdom. Leon exhaled slowly, then pushed himself to his feet. Every muscle screamed in protest, his limbs heavy and trembling. His ribs ached with each breath, and dried blood clung to his skin like second armor. But he moved anyway, because that's what he did. Step by step, he approached the lake. Once, the water had shone like melted silver in the sun and the silver tree. Now it lapped in shades of red. The fight had stripped the beauty from this location. Broken trees stood at crooked angles, the delicate silver leaf trees knocked over and splattered with blood. And still, the water shone, reflecting a sky that hadn't yet caught on to the fact that something had died here. Leon halted at the water's edge. The serpent's body floated in the shallows, massive and unmoving. Its lifeless eyes were still wide, locked on him, as if refusing to accept defeat. He smirked, tilting his head. What? He muttered. You're dead. Don't give me that look. No answer, of course. With a short breath and a quiet grunt, Leon stepped forward and dove in lake. System, Leon said, studying the flower in his hand. What's the procedure here? Do I eat the petals? Chew the stem? Root first? Or swallow the whole thing? System, host must eat the whole flower at once. Leon gave a quick nod. Okay, all in one. Got it. With no fuss at all, he put the flower into his mouth and chewed down. Crunch. The petals were soft and cool, with a sweetness akin to fresh spring water. The stem was crisp and had a mint-like undertone. A refreshing chill coursed through his mouth, trickling down his throat and into his belly. He closed his eyes. Bliss. His body started to glow, soft shades of silver and blue illuminating his veins beneath his skin. Power resonated within him, not frenzied like a burst of mana, but intense, solid, and endlessly recycling. A few seconds passed, and the glow disappeared. Leon breathed out. System, silver aqua flower used up. Integration complete. Stamina pool. Infinity. He glanced down at his hands and smiled. I feel refreshed, as if I could sprint across the continent. He clenched his fists, blood buzzing with renewed energy. I could cast a dozen spells without rest, fight for hours without interruption, and satisfy every damn woman I encounter. Then the system beeped once more. System. Reminder. Stamina and energy are distinct. Leon blinked in confusion. Wait, what do you mean? System. Host now has unlimited stamina. Movement, endurance, and recovery from exhaustion are now unencumbered. Useful for physical activities, and also in your nighttime activities. Leon smirked in a wicked fashion. That's what I'm saying. System. Combat. though, needs both energy and stamina. While stamina prevents you from being exhausted, magical attacks and martial arts drain energy. Once energy is out, stamina will be useless. Leon blinked. So I can keep running forever, but still kill if I have no energy when fighting. System, right? A cultivator who has zero energy is literally an athletic corpse. Leon groaned, smiling wryly. You really know how to kill the mood. System, I'm programmed to guide you, not flatter you. The goal is to make you your best. He paused, then nodded. I get it. I've got to raise my cultivation to increase energy. But right now, stamina's a damn good upgrade. He looked out at the silver forest past the lake. The distant roars of magical beasts were faint reminders of the dangers that lay ahead. But for now, he was stronger. He smiled, opening his system menu. Let's raise those blank points. He bought a Mortal Realm healing pill, swallowing it. Warmth coursed through his body, healing the worst of his injuries and restoring some energy. His eyes sparkled. Okay, my lovely blank points, here I come. The sun had long since fallen below the western horizon's edge, a streak of red and amber following it. High in the sky, the two moons occupied their throne in tandem, one a brilliant silver, the other pale blue. The twin moons' combined light flooded the world in an ethereal softness. The huge silver forest, beautiful even during the day, now glimmered in the moonlight with a greater radiance. All the silver-leaved trees shone like cut crystal, and the grass itself glowed weakly, so that the effect was of a forest carved from moonlight. Somewhere deep inside, the quiet was broken by the far-off howls and roars of magical creatures ringing through the trees, wild, haunting, and alive. But in all this turmoil, Leon remained unmoving, standing under the silvery light that filtered through the leaves. A shaft of moonlight strayed between the branches overhead and landed squarely on his face, illuminating his features in gleaming light. With that chiseled jawline, fierce eyes, and the silver radiance embracing his skin, he seemed a god of charm, fallen from heaven to roam the wilderness. Yet the tableau was not without blemish. His dark black cloak was stained and torn once more, battered by combat, and streaked with evaporating blood. His frame was covered in cuts and gashes that, though healing slowly due to herb silver aquaflower he ate at noon, still showed a visible track of the battle's cost. His black hair was unkempt, strands glued to his face with blood and sweat. Blood trickled from his tightly clenched fist, not his, but that of the enormous magical creature that now lay dead before him. The body of the beast was horrific. It was like a bear's body, but 3 times as large, its back covered with ice spikes, and its nose extended into a semi-wolf-like maw. Blue-furred and frost-tinged, the beast's name resonated in Leon's mind. Glacierfong Direbear, a level 0 magical beast that was renowned for its fierceness. Standing before the lifeless body of the beast, the system echoed within his mind. Ding! Host has killed a novice-level Glacierfong Direbear beast, plus 5 blank points credited. Current BP, 310. He exhaled a slow breath. Since that fight with the Aqua Serpent, his sword had been left broken beyond any use. Everything he fought ever since had fallen to his fists and legs alone, performing the motions of his martial art, Voidbreaker art, with increasingly perfect mastery. Dozens of mortal and novice realm monsters had fallen to his hand. He had only seen one early-stage Master Realm monster yet since after Aqua Serpent and Scarlet Hexafox, and it, too, was a memory now. He opened and closed his fist, red droplets splashing into the moonlit grass as he wiped away the blood. A grin played at his lips, a battle-hardened, wild smile. "You were a good sparring partner," he said, darkly laughing as he gazed at the Direbear. "Thanks to you, I know my martial art even better, buddy." He looked up, allowing the twin moons to fill his vision. Their light flowed over all, pouring brightness like soft rain. He didn't feel weary, at least not physically. Due to the silver aqua flower, his endurance had reached infinity. But mentally, he was spent. Battles, tension, and concentration for the day had taken their toll on his mind. Stretching arms overhead, bones creaking contentedly. He grimaced. That's enough practice for one day. Mischievous spark danced in his eyes. Time to go home, to my area's arms, and try this endless stamina of mine. He chuckled to himself, only to frown slightly at the stench coming from his blood-stained body. His robe was tattered, clawed, and bitten in a few places, revealing more of his lean, muscled frame than intended. I need a bath first, he muttered. No way I'm going back to her smelling like a dead beast. He recalled the small pond he'd found before, another peaceful body of water reserves concealed not too far away from the aqua serpent's territory. He walked by them in memory and instincts, every step sure and silent. The night breeze was crisp, caressing his skin like a gentle whisper. Before long, he arrived. The pond in front, still, crystalline, and surrounded by silver grass and fragile, light trees. The twin moons flooded the water in pure light, making its surface a rippling mirror of stars. The whole scene seemed to be a dream, an illusion drawn from myth. He took a step forward, hands busy at his belt as he loosened his ragged robe. In seconds, he stood entirely naked, the chill air wrapping around his flesh. Naked in the wilderness, he was not afraid. Who would see him here, in this night-drenched world? Leon moved slowly into the pond. The water lapped at his calves, his thighs, then his waist. It was cold, but in the most refreshing way, like the breath of the moon had penetrated the pond. He remained motionless in the center, water swirling at his waist as he started to bathe. Blood rinsed away, coloring the surface red for a brief moment before it disappeared. He washed his arms, his chest, and combed his hair with his fingers, letting the cold water wash the day from him. Moonlight touched him, silver intertwining with skin and darkness. He seemed otherworldly, an ethereal god immersed in divine light, crafted from charm, power, and ferocity. He came out after a while, drops falling from his frame as he stood in his bare feet in the silky silver grass. He stared at his right hand, where a plain yet elegant silver ring shone under the moonlight. It wasn't any common ring. This was a mythic storage ring, the kind he had heard of in countless Earth books. A spatial object that enabled a cultivator to store weapons, clothing, herbs, and objects inside a dimension no larger than a room. This one was the former Leon's, passed down with his identity. He reached into the ring with his mind, and a new black robe materialized in his hand. Good thing I had a spare, he said with a pleased smirk. He dressed, and then looked at his reflection in the pond. His smooth black hair now hung down over his shoulders, wet but straight, around his handsome face. His eyes sparkled with guile. In the stark contrast of black clothes and moonlight, he was more handsome than ever. In black, my charm really levels up, he said to himself, admiring his reflection. I think I'll order some new clothes when I return. With that, he turned. Let's go home. He started walking towards the edge of the silver forest. His stride was relaxed, but each step taken by him in speed to no ordinary human could keep up. As his martial arts increased, so did his movements, faster, lighter, more precise. Reaching the boundary of the forest, he looked back once more at the glowing woods. I'll miss you, my sweet silver forest. You've given me plenty of blank points. He grinned with a cheeky, playful chuckle. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. He turned once more, and in a few strides, his pace changed to a run, a shadow in the moonlight. In 20 minutes, he arrived at the familiar periphery where he had originally entered. Ahead of him, the silver city shone with lamp lights and moonlight. A gem in the night, alive and still awake under the twin moons. But Leon did not head towards the city gate. This world, it really is amazing. No night entry is allowed, he muttered. If I enter now, they'll be asking questions, and I came here in secret. Can't have anyone finding that out. He pondered into himself. Rather, he went towards the hidden way along the perimeter, the very one he had traversed earlier in the day. He walked along the perimeter of the city, then turned in the direction of the twin trees, but not before pausing for one final moment of appreciation of this world's nighttime majesty, carrying it in his heart. But as he turned, his gaze picked up something. In the distant distance, beyond the eastern bend of the Silver City, close to the ancient ruins, a very weak silver and blue light shone in the darkness. He squinted. To anyone else, it would look like a trick of the twin moon's reflection. But Leon wasn't anyone else. That's not moonlight. His eyes narrowed. The ruins were the only remnants of old Silver City, lost ages ago for reasons that were lost to time. Leon recalled the stories of some terrible disaster, some forgotten collapse. The information came from bits and pieces of the old Leon's memories and what the system had provided him. But even with all of that, the real reason the city had fallen was kept from him. The system provided no information, nothing but silence. System, he whispered, brain on high. Do you feel anything? Ding. Affirmative. Mana fluctuation detected. Extremely high concentration. Leon's eyes sparkled. Mana fluctuation that strong. He remembered at once what Ronan, his secret eyes and city, had reported him. That some unknown individuals had just appeared in Silver City, asking weird questions, and camped near the ruins and attempt to locate something. Perhaps they're still there, he growled. And perhaps that mana fluctuation is theirs. His interest peaked, burning brighter with every second. Well then, let's see. Without thinking, he turned and ran directly towards the ruins, the flickering light and ancient mysteries drawing him in like a whisper. Whispers in the ruins. Part 2. A glow above him were the twin moons. One, a crystalline white coldness. The other, a dark, glowing blue. Both of them cast an unnatural light on the world. An unearthly illumination that transformed shadows into whispers and gave every tree an air of mystery. He came to a stop at the edge of the ruins. There it was, the ruin of old Silver City. It emerged from the earth like the ruins of some long-dead giant, weathered and bowed with age. Fissured stone walls projected into the air like shattered teeth, shrouded in thorny vines that glowed weakly with a mysterious, residual mana. Faint but present. Cobblestone streets were broken, veins of roots cutting through them like nature's defiance. Ivy hung from windows like mourning veils, and half-fallen archways leaned into the darkness. Leon gazed, throat catching in a breath. Shit, he breathed. Walking into a dream. Or a cemetery. He edged forward one step. The wind sighed through empty doorways. Wood creaked, somewhere slow and heavy, as if the building itself was exhaling. Looks spooky, he grumbled, scanning the shadows between the shattered buildings. Then he grinned. Reminds me of that anime I saw back on Earth. The MC stumbled upon a place just like this. Ended up with a god-level artifact and a harem next episode. He smiled quietly. Not saying I'm hoping that, but hey, a guy can dream. His golden eyes flashed with mirth and interest. He moved slowly, deeper into ruins. With each step, the odd light farther ahead throbbed brighter, an otherworldly blue which seemed to liquidate like stellar light, overrunning broken columns and shattered flagstones. And it wasn't moonlight, and it absolutely wasn't natural light either. The light itself had texture and weight. It was as though the air around him had been colored blue. And with every step, air mana grew more dense. Leon reined back, catching his breath as the pressure weighted his skin with an unseen fog. Cool, but tingling. Alive. It stung along his vertebrae, traced icy fingers down the base of his skull. Magic weighted the air, heavy and pungent, like pre-storm mist. His pulse went faster, not of fear but wonder. Whatever this was, it was old, powerful, sealed. And with each step he took, the air shifted. It became heavier, thicker, with mana. He could sense it on his skin, tingling like the static in the air before a thunderstorm. The mana here was potent, thick, like he was approaching a space that had never been touched by time, or perhaps had too much of it stored within. He paused for a moment, just breathing it in. This is insane, he muttered under his breath. It's like the whole place is holding its breath. Up in front, the light was concentrated in what appeared to be an abandoned courtyard. But here's the thing, only the center was lit. The rest around it was black as coal, as if the ruins had been devoured by darkness on purpose. Too neat, as if someone or something had painted a circle of light in the middle of all this rot, and just left it there. Leon crept closer, eyes fixed on that glowing center. He could feel the line where the light began, right in front of him. The air was different there, warmer, almost buzzing, like he was standing at the edge of something sacred. Or dangerous. Or both. Leon narrowed his eyes in confusion and called. System, he called. Yes, host. That light. It should be bright enough to reach the whole ruin. Why is it isolated like that? A pause. System, scanning area. Seconds passed. System, scan complete. A mana-based barrier is isolating the city center. Source, Grandmaster level formation. Leon blinked. Grandmaster level? You're saying someone at Grandmaster realm made that? System, affirmative. Only someone with high-tier mana control and power can construct a formation this precise and stable. Estimated age of barrier. Recent. His heart raced in his chest. He was powerful, confident, already in Master Realm. He defeated newbie and mid-Master Realm beasts. Even he has faith enough to have defeated peak of Mortal Realm Cultivator with System's assistance. But a Grandmaster? That was on another level. That was someone who could level mountains, or destroy him without even breaking a sweat. He stood there, taut, balancing the moment. I could withdraw, he grumbled to himself. Summon the mansion guards. Perhaps even summon Arya to come. She's handled high-level threats due to higher cultivation than him. But his eyes returned to the courtyard. The gentle, eerie blue light still throbbing like a pulse at its center. What the hell was in there? A whisper of wonder wrapped around his head, drawing him near. And then the flash of greed, the desire to know. A force that drew him, as if something deep in the ruins was summoning him, pushing him forward. He could sense it, a silent call to the unknown. He balled his fists. He knew they were here, some unknown faction with undefined objectives. He had no idea who they were, or what they were doing within these ruins. But if they were capable of constructing that, then whatever they sought must be worth something. Perhaps earth-shattering. And if he gave up now, he'd never forgive himself. Leon gritted his teeth, took a deep breath. If I desire great rewards, he growled, voice low, then I've got to risk great things. He took a step forward. His boots struck the broken stone. Whoosh. Instinct screamed. Leon spun on reflex, just avoiding a blow meant for his back. His body reacted faster than thought, twisting in midair and landing in a crouch, his arm up defensively, prepared for whatever was coming next. A figure stood before him, dressed in black from head to foot. The hood was low, shadowing their face. No features, no expression. Just the emptiness of darkness, as if the figure belonged to the night itself. Leon's eyes narrowed, every muscle tensed. His senses went on high alert. You moved in without a sound. Impressive, he started, his voice tinged with a hint of reluctant respect. And then, just as he finished speaking, another presence brewed behind him. His stomach tightened with danger leaping, and before he had time to move, there was a blow, quick and hard. Thud! Pain burst in the back of his neck, and for an instant his sight reeled crazily. The world tilted. Another one. He stumbled, his knees giving way under him. The floor seemed to drop away as darkness closed in around his mind. The last he saw before his awareness faded was a second hooded figure approaching him, serene and deliberate, their countenance shrouded just as the first. He attempted to keep himself awake, but his body had other plans. Damn it! And then, thud. Everything went dark. The first hooded figure spoke to the second. Do you think? He's the one. The second figure's tone was cold, detached. I don't know. Only the priestess can tell. They shared a glance, something unsaid, something understood. The second figure brought up a hand, fingers tracing through the air as ancient magic slipped from their mouth. The air was filled with mana, pale blue, as it wove around them in a soft, almost reverent ballet. Leon's unconscious form rose upwards, as if buoyed by imaginary hands. His limp body floated, weightless, while the two figures started to walk further into the ruins. The figures crossed over the edge of the shining city center, the boundary wavering like liquid glass, an unseen pulse that glittered with power. In the center of the ruins was a broad courtyard, old and quiet. Fallen pillars stood like shattered sentinels, protecting quiet stone houses. Roots had torn through walls and crawled over the roads. But here, at the center, the growth stopped, as if nature itself was afraid to intrude. The air vibrated with dense mana, heavy and thick, holding the land in balance. And at her very core was a statue, a woman close to 12 feet high, hewn out of stone with godlike precision. Her features were so delicately cut they appeared to be alive. Long, flowing locks of hair, robes which flowed like water over her stone body, and a peaceful but strong face that was beyond mortal limits. She was not just a statue, she was divine. Her stone eyes looked into eternity, her hands clasped in silent prayer, as if she possessed a secret the world wasn't yet prepared to hear. A soft white light surrounded her, and it was as if even time itself curved around her, respecting her stillness. Floating above her, in the center of a circular dais covered in ancient symbols, hovered a mystical relic, a chakra. It shone with brilliant blue-white light, rotating slowly, soundlessly. The chakra divided evenly into 4 equilateral quadrants, each quadrant containing a fist-sized cavity, awaiting nearly as if keys had not yet been inserted. Standing beneath this statue was another person, wrapped in flowing black garments. Her face hidden entirely under a thick hood, she grasped a long staff. The staff curled at the tip into the form of a crescent moon, made of silvery crystal that glowed in perfect synchrony with the twin moons overhead. She stood motionless, an aura of serene but commanding power emanating from her. Her head was slightly bent towards the statue, as if in silent respect, her presence nearly otherworldly in its beauty. Then a subtle change. Her brows furrowed, a faint twitch in her face. She felt something, an echo in the air. Someone just crossed the barrier, she whispered to herself, her voice soft but sharp with purpose. Her eyes turned toward the source of the disturbance. Footsteps, heavy, steady. Then she saw the 2 cloaked figures entered the courtyard, bearing Leon's unconscious form between them. They approached the priestess, bowing deeply. "Priestess," one of them said, with respect in each word, "we discovered this man roaming the outer ruins." The priestess swiveled around, her actions fluid, like a dancer during a ritual. She looked down at Leon's body as it was carefully set upon the stone floor. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a second, time appeared to slow. His looks were remarkable, sharp, angular, flawless, and captivating, but unmistakably strong. There was something about him, something that pulled at her, as if he was chiseled from the very fabric of divinity itself. Handsome, she breathed softly to herself, so quietly that only she could hear. Like the divine, she sat beside him, her white hand extending to move a lock of disheveled black hair back from his brow. The gesture lasted longer than it should, as if merely the act were nearly too personal, too close. His handsome face, so exposed in its stillness, held more of her interest than she allowed. The hooded figure standing close by made a soft throat-clearing noise, breaking her trance. "Priestess, is that him?" She blinked, slightly confused, and gradually shook her head. I don't know. Not yet. First, we awaken him. Then we shall see." She clenched her staff tightly and raised it high, the crescent moon on its tip blazing with ancient energy. A burst of blue light exploded from the staff, spilling like warm spring rain over Leon's bruised form. His chest rose, a twitch, and then his fingers curled. Golden eyes snapped open, locking gazes with the soft, pulsating light overhead. The 3 hooded men standing over him resolved into clarity. Instinct swamped his brain. He had no concept of where he was or why they brought him there, but it was irrelevant. Hostility flooded through him. He fired upright, his body reacting before his brain could properly get its bearings on what was happening. He rolled back, leapt up to his feet, his boot on broken stone, and dove into a defensive position right away. Arms raised, stance in Voidbreaker martial art form. "Who are you?" he snarled, voice low and menacing, his eyes lighting up with alertness and caution. "Why the hell did you bring me here?" His eyes became cold as he looked at the three-clocked figure in front of him, the moon goddess priestess. In one smooth motion, Leon flipped backwards, boots crashing against shattered stone with silent intensity. He fell into a low crouch, body tensed like a stringed bow, the devastated plaza creaking under the impact of his mana. Dust billowed around him like a phantom's breath. His instincts came into shape before his mind did, raw martial reflex. His aura wrapped around him tightly, a storm restrained on the brink of unleashing. He looked over the open square. "Who are you?" he snarled, his voice low and tinged with cold rage. "Why the devil did you bring me here?" At the plaza's center, there crouched a robed woman on ancient stone, her stance impossibly serene. Her dark robes gathered behind her, unmarred by wind or time. With unnerving serenity, she stood, dusting dust from her robes as if time were hers in abundance. The air stilled. Too still. Leon narrowed his gaze. Something in her wasn't right. She was off, controlled, in a way that went against nature. He sensed the energy emanating off her, and then his heart thumped once hard. Grandmaster Realm. Even so, he didn't budge. He stood up, tension hidden beneath the calmness a man who'd walked through death so many times he no longer feared shadows. Behind her, two other silhouettes stood quietly, wrapped in darkness. Their faces were completely concealed, no hint of aura escaping. But even with their quiet, something was amiss. Deadly, like hunters poised for the signal. Leon's gaze wandered beyond them, and then locked up. In the center of the destroyed city, under pale moonlight, there was a statue. Enormous. Alien. 12 feet high, chiseled from unblemished marble that glowed softly in the dark. Her eyes were shut, her face peaceful, her hands folded in prayer. Her robes billowed in exquisite ripples, so delicately carved they appeared to be silk in a breeze, not stone carved by men. Leon's breath caught, not from the statue itself, but from what floated above it. A chakra appeared like divine relic, hanging in midair, glowing and slowly spinning. Its four curved blades glowed with pale blue-white light. Each quadrant had a missing key, empty spaces. But even so, incomplete, its power throbbed through the air like a heartbeat, heavy with raw, unstable mana. Leon remained quiet for a moment, eyes locked on her. Then, his voice firm but low, he spoke. "Tell me, why did you bring me here? And what is that artifact?" The robed woman finally spoke. Her voice was gentle, too serene. "Listen, gentlemen," she said softly. He didn't budge. "Relax, gentlemen. You don't need to be so guarded." Leon scoffed, the dry edge on his smirk. "Relax? After you invade my city, trap me in this bitch of a barrier, and ambush me?" He pointed at the floating relic. "And that thing's overflowing with mana that enough for destroying city. Yet, you want to tell me I shouldn't be careful with you." Her voice stayed steady calm. "You don't have to be so careful. We didn't bring you here to hurt you, or anyone. Please believe that." She nodded toward her friends, then back to Leon. "And as for being brought here, we didn't bring you here," Cynthia continued, her voice calm. "You came into the ruined city voluntarily. We only reacted to what we felt." Leon's eyes narrowed. She continued, her voice calm. "My friend reacted because she felt something out of the ordinary, someone strong passing through a forbidden area. Whether you were dangerous or not, we couldn't determine unless we acted." Leon hesitated, furrowing his brow. Shit, she was right. He had sensed something odd in the devastated city and decided to pursue it. No one pulled him in. Still, he released a cold, bitter laugh. "Is this your idea of a warm welcome?" She nodded slightly, a flicker of something akin to regret in her tone. "I know how it seemed. Our arrival was sudden and suspicious. But our intentions aren't hostile." Leon's gaze narrowed. "What do you want from me? Why are you here?" There was a moment's hesitation. Then, quietly, she said, "We're looking for someone." "Who?" She hesitated. "That," she said finally, "I can't tell you. Not yet." Leon's laugh was a snort of contempt. "So, I'm supposed to trust you? You slip into my city, hidden in shadows and half-fibs, and expect me to go along with it. His eyes narrowed, voice cut with steel. Remove the hoods. If you're seeking honesty, begin with your face. The woman looked at him for a second, then nodded slightly. Her long fingers slid back the hood as she raised her hand slowly. A waterfall of obsidian black hair cascaded loose, catching the moon in a silken glow. Her skin was pale, radiant, unmarred by age or flaw. Her features were impossibly delicate, delicate brows, long lashes, soft lips pursed in a calm, knowing smile. But it was her eyes that stilled him. Great, quiet, ancient, dark irises curled with a knowing older than years. Melancholy and memory coiled into quiet. Leon's stance faltered, just a little, his instincts failing before something more than loveliness. Something timelessness. She didn't entice him with her loveliness. He was lost in it and fell silent. Behind her, the other two drew back their hoods as well. They were twins, but not. They were both the same flowing, waving green locks, cascading over their backs like green vines. The hair was aglow as if kissed by moonbeams. Their eyes, however, spoke a different tale. One's eyes blazed like a polished emerald, hard and piercing, having an almost obstinate aura to her, her look a whispered command. The other's eyes were gentler, shining softly like the initial light of dawn, filled with a warmth that could thaw even the hardest of hearts. Where the first walked with the disciplined grace of a warrior, her presence is firm and measured, the other presence like a zephyr, fluid and elegant. Her every step floated, as if her feet hardly touched the ground. Their bodies were both lithe and strong, with gentle curves that spoke of inner strength. They were warriors formed under the light of the moon, their bodies shaped with a divine beauty, strength veiled in the tender lines of their figures. There was intent in their very existence, an unmistakable harmony between power and grace. Leon's eyes lingered, entranced by their own special beauty, each in her own unique way. The priestess cocked her head, a small smile twisting on her lips. Do you believe us now, even a little? Leon blinked, shaking off the trance, and straightened. His voice came out more firm than before, but with the remains of a faint edge. That helps, but I still need answers. The three of them shared an unspoken look, one not missed by Leon. The priestess stepped closer, her slow and deliberate motion. She gave a slight bow, her eyes never wavering from his. My name is Cynthia, she said, her voice possessing the tranquility of power that came with having witnessed centuries. I am a priestess of the moon, goddess Selene. She hesitated for a moment, letting the seriousness of her statement sink in. These are my guardians, Kyra and Syra. When Cynthia uttered the word Selene, a severe knot seized Leon's chest. Moon goddess Selene. The name struck him like a star falling from the sky, abrupt, blinding. His mind dispersed, shards of ancient memories, half-forgotten rumors of a goddess who should not have existed. His breath froze, and his eyes opened wide, not in fear but recognition. Unbelief. In Galvia, Selene existed barely as myth. A name so deep within centuries of quiet that few had ever heard her spoken, and those who had relegated her to myth or bedtime tale. A forgotten moon goddess, whose people had whispered themselves away into nothingness until all that was left was ruin. But Leon knew better, not from books, not from scholars, but out of the wisdom imparted by the system. Leon had viewed glimpses, snatches of moonlight glowing on ruined altars, words whispered in extinct tongues, and the dark outlines of a nation that had dissolved from Galvia. Not chased, but escaped by will. They had glided into stillness, into concealment, as if holding something holy, something the world was no longer worthy to lay hands upon. And now, here she stood, this woman, in front of him, who asserted herself to be a priestess of that goddess. Cynthia, and the two behind her, Kyra and Syra, saw the change in position, the subtle relaxation of his shoulders, the flashes of doubt that chased themselves across his face like clouds over the moon. He was no longer prepared to fight. He was sitting like he was lost in thought. Cynthia shared a look with her friends, then returned her gaze to Leon with a gentle, knowing smile. "You know about our goddess," she said softly. Leon took a slow breath. The weight of memory, myth, and mystery bore down on his chest. "Yes," he whispered, his voice low. "I do." Her eyes flashed, not surprise but something warm, like hope at last stirring. But Leon's voice was unyielding. "Which is why I'm asking again. Who are you really to assume such a title?" Cynthia smiled with a subtle, knowing nod. "A reasonable question, noble sir." Leon's eyes narrowed. "For what I understand, Celine's people exist in the shadows, secreted in the world's fringes, ever watching, never showing themselves. So what are you doing here? In my city?" Her calm face changed, just a little. A flash of struggle behind her eyes. She looked away from the statue of Celine, eyes far away. Then at last she sighed. "You know our names," she said softly, "but we do not know yours. May I ask?" Leon frowned, the question taken aback. But after a moment, he stood up straight. "My name is Leon Moonwalker," he said softly, but firmly. "Duke of Silver City." The air was still. Cynthia's eyes flashed. Just a flicker, quickly covered. Behind her, the two guardians exchanged a glance, fleeting but unmistakable. For the first time, a tone of reverence crept into Cynthia's voice as her head bowed into a bow. "Then, you're the Lord Duke." Kyra and Syra imitated her, their movements smooth and fluid, voices rising together. "Our respects, Lord Moonwalker." But Leon cut short their movement with a sharp, upraised hand. "Stop. I don't like formality." His tone was abrupt, firm, but not cruel. The force behind it wasn't arrogance, but fatigue. The kind that resulted from someone who'd borne a title too long to care about reverence. The three halted halfway through their bow, taken aback by the interruption. Then, as if sensing the change in his mood, they stood up slowly. Cynthia watched him quietly for a moment, scanning his face, not for weakness, but for comprehension. And she flowed into a graceful, straight posture. "As you desire, Lord Leon," she murmured. "I'd like us to speak clearly," he said. "No more playing games. You've had time to craft your lies or truths. So now tell me, why do you come here?" Cynthia's smile diminished slightly, replaced by something weightier, pensive. "If you'll permit it, Lord Duke," she said with calm face. "Before I respond, there's one thing I must ask you," she whispered. "Then I swear you'll have your answers." Leon's eyes furrowed. "You'd rather have me answer first?" She nodded and remained calm and unwavering. One question only. For an instant, silence lay between them. Suspicion glimmered in his eyes, wound tight as a spring, but no deceit in her expression. No concealed blade in her words. Only quiet. Honesty, maybe, or something akin to it. But he didn't believe her. But something in her presence, the calm, her aura, made him want to hear her out. After a deep breath, Leon nodded slowly, unwillingly. "Fine. Ask me." A soft smile crept back to her lips, soft, with an almost regretful look. "Thank you," she whispered. "It means more than you can imagine."